My guess is that there's going to be some big names on the outside looking in, because we do have oversubscribed fields in a couple of our professional categories here at the Gulf Western Oil Winternationals. It is always one of the biggest events of the year. When you look at the entry list across all the categories, again, this year, it is no different. It is such a huge event, the biggest one outside of North America, and it is just a pleasure to be able to commentate that this afternoon. As I said, we're not too far away from getting into Pro Stock, just a little bit of track prep out there at the moment. And we shouldn't be too long and we'll be able to get things rolling. What are you looking forward to most this weekend, Mark? I know there's a lot of things on the list, but what are you looking forward to the most?
You've put me on the spot here because there's a lot of things that I'm excited. Yeah,
Gary and Shane Phillips.
Aye.
In pro alcohol.
Great call.
That's going to be a very, very cool one, because I'm 99% sure that Shane hasn't made a run without Gary standing on the start line, and I don't think that Gary's made a run without Shane standing on the start line for probably 20 years or more. So to see those guys, if they do manage to match up in qualifying or in racing, I think that's going to be very, very cool to see. We do have the
we do have the qualifying sheets here.
In fact, there it is. So they're not going to line up in the first round of qualifying. They will line up in the third round of qualifying alongside each other. Gary Phillips and Shane Phillips.
I've got some goosebumps then a little bit then.
So that one is going to be very, very cool. It's a bit of a family affair across the board. We had quite a few family races down in Sydney as well, the Nitro Champs in Pro Stock, funnily enough. But we'll touch on that as we get closer to it. There's stories across the board. It doesn't matter where you look. There are stories in every single class. Good stories. There's some sad stories as well. But there's always something to talk about at the Winter Nats.
Oh, mate, you're on the money there. I was just thinking about the qualifying sessions. We have 3 qualifying sessions for all of our professional categories. I know some teams like to do like a layup pass, and when I say a layup pass, they like to do a bit of a soft pass, first pass, trying to get themselves into the field and then improve on it. I think every session is critical. I think you need to be going after it from Q1 right through.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's going to be no holding back. And given the conditions that we've got today, there's not really any reason to hold back.
It's cooled down as well, which is going to help.
It has cooled down. There's been a little bit of cloud cover that's come over in the last hour or so that's just cooling things off a little bit, taking a little bit of the UV out of that racetrack. Of course, we've got the fantastic Willowbank track crew here preparing this racetrack. Also, Justin Simpson as well down there giving them a hand with it, who travels around the country preparing racetracks. Everywhere he goes, he's set national records, and you know, it's incredible to think just how far things have come in terms of the track prep side of things, even in the last 5 or 6 years. You know, the methods that they use, and it's always changing depending on the weather conditions. You've got to tune in the track just like you need to tune in the car.
And this keeps, with the track being prepped like this, it keeps it consistent then for the crew chiefs as well. With the tuning, the cars get quicker. It's a better spectacle for the spectators as well.
Absolutely, and that's really what it comes down to. It is all about the spectacle and what a spectacle it is. Big hello to everyone from Gulf Western Oil who is here this weekend as well. They have been title sponsor of this event for so long now. It is just absolutely synonymous with the Winternationals, and a big hello to everybody who is here as a guest of Gulf Western Oil this weekend.
I'm just wondering how many people in this crowd have chucked the sickie today to be here on a Friday afternoon.
Well, no names, no pack drill, but there's one sitting in the commentary box at the moment. So
it's a decent crowd here on a Friday afternoon.
It's a huge crowd on a Friday afternoon, and you can see everybody out there on the hill that's already pitched their tents for the weekend. It is one of those things that you see. Everybody has their spot when it comes to the Winter Nats. Everyone. They have the same spot where they go to every single year, and you tend to, if you sit in that spot, you'll look around and you'll see the same people every single year.
Before you were in the commentary box, where was your spot? In the grandstand or on the hill?
My spot was in the grandstand.
In the grandstand?
I always like being in the grandstand up high so you could see down into the braking area as well.
So I was a hill guy.
Were you?
With the blankets, get under the blankets, watch the racing.
Yeah,
as a kid.
I can see that as well. And you get the cardboard, go down the back of the hill as well.
Yeah, did that as well. Might still do that now.
I'm no judgment, Mark. No judgment. There's a vibe about the Winternationals, that is for sure. We just fixing up a couple of technical problems. I think we got them just about sorted. Right, okay. So in terms of the stream, we did have to just start a new stream, so hopefully everybody is on board. Timed it pretty well for you, though, because we're still doing the track prep out there. So We're just in the process of getting this sorted, but we will be jumping into it. So looking at the way the Pro Stock points are at the moment, Rob Deckett is currently your number one man, coming off the back of 2 consecutive wins.
3 finals as well this season for Rob Deckett.
3 finals, 2 consecutive wins. It's been a hell of a run, and I dare say it's not done this weekend. John Barbagallo sitting in second, but he's 105 points behind. Now, with 2 rounds of the championship left to go, including this weekend, that's going to be pretty hard to overcome.
Not hard. It's not impossible, I should say. It's definitely hard. Not impossible. Needs a few things to go his way.
Yeah, needs Rob Deckett to basically lock himself in the trailer.
Yeah, but Deckett's team is so strong. You know they're going to come out. They're going to be in the top half of the field. And he's a good racer as well, obviously.
Absolutely,
with 2 wins.
And they've got some added motivation.
It was a whole shot win as well.
Absolutely,
it was. Win.
They've got some added motivation this weekend as well. We will touch on that in a little while. Mario Polito having a career best season in third at the moment, 258 points. Incredible to see how he's going, and he's not lucking his way into it. He's winning races. He's
a very good racer, Mario, especially if you look at his reaction times. He's usually top 2 or 3 in averages for reaction times, Mario Polito.
Absolutely. Chris Soldatis, I don't believe on the entry list this weekend.
Not here this weekend, yeah. Surprising.
Bit of an unusual one. He has locked down 4th in the championship. He's got a pretty decent lead over Tony Polito. It's 80 points as it stands at the moment, but still anything can happen. Rick Chilton, Ray Oxley and Tyrone Tremaine rounding out, I think that's the top 7. And then you go back a little bit further, and they keep on coming. Thomas Leake, in his first season of Pro Stock competition, managed to knock out a fantastic win on a hole shot at the last round of the championship. And as you can see, we have got Rob Deckett rolling into the water box right now and out onto the racetrack. And you'll see on the side of this car the pink, and that is in tribute to a very, very special lady. And on the 30th of May, it was just last week, the drag racing community lost a very, very special family member. Hayley Turns was a woman of many talents, a photographer, slot car specialist, crew member, occasional big rig wrangler, and perhaps most importantly, she was a friend to just about everybody here in the pits. She was stubborn, almost to a fault, but she was the first person to give you the shirt off her back if you needed it more than her. She was dedicated to the sport and her team, and she was always there for everybody, ready with a warm smile and a generous heart. This weekend, we honour someone who has left an incredible mark on Australian drag racing in the short time that we were blessed to have with her. This weekend, her team, Unique Racing, led by Rob Deckett and Hayley's partner Paul Drady, have their own special tribute to her with the bright pink name on the doors and the rear window of the Pro Stock Championship leader. And before we get into qualifying this afternoon, I would ask that everybody be upstanding if you are able, as we share a minute's silence in memory of a fantastic woman, Hayley Turns. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for someone who contributed so much and fought so bravely. And we, as a sport and a family, send our love out to Hayley, Paul, and everybody from the Turns family. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A fantastic tribute to a fantastic woman. So Rob will go back and get himself suited up there and try and, I guess, focus in now on the job that's at hand. And I think there's no secret about it. He's got a determination in his eye this week, Rob Deckett. He knows that he wants to go out there and do nothing less than bring the trophy home for Hayley.
Yeah, you're on the money there, Rusty. So Rob Deckett will be the first car down here in Pro Stock qualifying session number 1. The championship leader has been running into the high 680s, low 690s, Rob Deckett. I suspect in these conditions, we should probably see some mid 690, low 690 passes here for Pro Stock here in Q1.
You know what the funny thing is? I've thought that in the past, and I've said, oh, you know what, a mid 690 would be about the mark, and then these guys will come out and absolutely lay it down in the first session. Look, I would say you have to be in the sixes to qualify this weekend. I don't think there's going to be any doubt about that whatsoever. I think to qualify, number one, I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to need a new national record. I genuinely believe that that 685 that we saw out of Tyra Tremaine at the last round of the championship, I reckon by the time we get to the end of the qualifying, that might get a bit of a touch-up.
You think we might see 200?
Look, it's on the table. I don't want to jinx it, but it's still on the table. Of course, we haven't yet seen a 200-mile-an-hour pass with unleaded fuel in Australian Pro Stock competition. So that is still on the table here this weekend.
Yeah, Tyrone Tremaine did reset the speed record in Sydney at 199 miles an hour. He was awfully close to that 200-mile-an-hour pass. Can it happen this weekend? We need everything to come together. You need perfect conditions, perfect setup. And here we go, Q1 Pro Stock.
Now, with 11 cars in the field, it does mean Rob Deckett is on a solo pass, being the number one seed, for lack of a better term. He's number one in the championship, so he does get that luxury of a solo pass. And that fantastic tribute on the back window to Haley. It's a fitting tribute, and for Rob this weekend, there's really only one job for him to do. He wants to bring home that trophy, and you know what? I'd say he actually wants to wipe the floor with everybody else in Pro Stock. He wants to come home with the top qualifier, low ET, top speed, and the trophy. And if he does that, it'll be job accomplished. But it's not going to be easy because this field is tough this weekend in Pro Stock.
It is all quality in front of us. Rob Deckett. I'm thinking short time-wise, you probably want to see 980s here. 990s, 980s for the Pro Stock guys.
It's funny.
That'll give us a good indication of the track.
We didn't see too many super quick 60-foots in Sydney. We saw a couple of high 990s somewhere around there. We didn't really see anybody get too much quicker than that. But, man, they were bringing them home at the top end of the racetrack. They were absolutely legging it across the finish line. So short times are certainly important. That'll give us a ballpark. But when it comes to dialing it in, these cars are making more horsepower than they ever have before. It's going to be a job of matching it up to the conditions that we've got.
This is the first time Deckett's been back at Willowbank Raceway since last year's Winternationals for Pro Stock, the first round.
And that also is another spanner in the works.
It is.
You know, because these guys...
Local knowledge?
Yeah, local knowledge does count for a hell of a lot. It's still straight, it's still 400 metres long, it's still black, but every track is different. Rob Deckett gets off the line nicely. 1,000 to the 60-foot time. This will be pretty quick straight off the trailer for Rob Deckett across the line for a 6.90 at 198.15 miles per hour. And Rob Deckett, he is ready to race, let me tell you.
Well, I was thinking mid to low 690, so that's a 6.90 off the trailer.
What'd I tell you?
The 60-foot was a little bit, you know what, 100 to the 60-foot. I think he's left a little bit on the table there.
I reckon he has as well, and I reckon the team is already trying to work out what they need to do to get that thing down the track a little bit quicker.
Well, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect pass. The crew chiefs will always go back and go, we could have definitely picked up 1,000
here. Oh, you missed that shift by 8 RPM. You could do better. As we see Thomas Lee coming into the water box now, his first season in Pro Stock. He managed to knock out his first ever round win as well on a hole shot over as we see John Kabura burn out alongside him. His first appearance in Pro Stock at Willowbank.
You'd be correct, Rusty, with John Kabura. He campaigned, obviously, in the Sportsman classes before stepping up to Pro Stock.
Yeah, John Kabura, a long-time racer down in Sydney, raced Super Stock for a very, very long time, and said, well, you know what? May as well go racing in Pro Stock, doing his own engine program as well.
Well, that's it. The goals for the team, they want to run a 6. That's the goal for them. They're just out here having fun.
They came really, really close down in Sydney. I think the 702 was the best run.
706 is his PB. Yeah, sorry. Good, John.
Yep. So, you know, he's very, very close to that mark. But still, when you're talking about going from a 706 to a 699 in Pro Stock, that's a long way.
It is, but you know what? He's having fun. They're here, and they're in the 7.0, so they're on the money. So Thomas Leake, he did run into the 6-second zone at Sydney Dragway only 4 or 5 weeks ago. We've just seen that 6.90 from Rob Deckett, currently number 1 qualifier.
All right, so you see Thomas Leake out in front of the car. It's his dad Bruce bringing him into stage. Bruce, a former Australian champion in Pro Stock as well. Very, very experienced racer. He's got some pedigree, does Thomas Leake. Also, no pressure. His father-in-law happens to race pro stock Rick Chilton. So, a bit of a family affair this weekend. We see Kabura bump his way in. Thomas Leake not too far behind. 004 on the both cars a little bit lazy to the 60-foot time as 103 to the 60 was the best of it for Thomas Leake, but the shoots come out early. 7:03 at 194 and a 7:32 at 172. Now, shoots came out early there for Thomas Leake. I wouldn't be surprised because I think it is his first time racing the Pro Stock car, at least here at Willowbank. Maybe he dropped the shoots early, just getting used to the
Possibly,
unique
yeah,
finish line here at Willowbank.
That's definitely possible there for Thomas Leake. Kabura, he sort of started a little bit on the hit there. Kabura ran through for a 7:32, 172 miles an hour, so definitely a lot more in the tank there for John. But Thomas Leake goes to number 2 with that 7:03. Next pairing out, Rusty, who we got?
We got Ray Oxley and Omar Sedmak. Ray Oxley has been so close to the sixes with this car. I think he knocked out a 700 recently, but he's not. I don't think he's yet ducked down into the 690s. Omar Sedmak, on the other hand, this car was anchored in the mid to low 690s down in Sydney, and they've got this thing sorted. They put the car on a dive. They've taken a lot of weight out of the car, and the car's reacting. It's laying down some numbers. It's very good short times to do some of the best of the
Yeah, Sedmak did go 693 in Sydney a few weeks ago. So yeah, they're heading in the right direction. They do their goal this weekend. They obviously want to go quicker than their PB, which is the 692, which they ran at last year's Winter Nationals. For Omar Sedmak, so he can definitely run to that low 690 zone. Ray Oxley for Oxley landforming in the Cobalt to move forward here. We can see Sedmak's already in that pre-stage area. Final adjustments on the wheelie bar for Sedmak.
Tricky time of day to be racing as well if you happen to be in the left lane with the sun. It's not quite behind the Christmas tree yet, but we are certainly approaching that time where we have to have the infamous sunbreak here at Willowbank Raceway.
You know, Omar's done really well here at Willowbank at the Winter Nationals. He's been in the semi-finals the last 2 years running in Pro Stock.
Which is not easy to do.
Not at all.
Just qualifying, making the field is a tick. If you can start going rounds on Sunday, well, that's a big one. So Omar Sedmak, the green and black car on the left-hand side of the screen. Ray Oxley up from New South Wales, clean. A little bit of shape for Omar Sedmak. 101 to the 60. A little bit of smoke out of the car for Ray Oxley at the other end. 698 at 196 is a solid pass for Omar Sedmak, and a 708 for Ray Oxley at 193. I think he might have rolled out of it a little bit early, but a little bit of a haze of smoke out of Oxley's car as he was going
definitely breathing a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is, in a Pro Stock car, not good.
No.
You don't want one of these cars to be breathing particularly heavy. As we move into the family affair, or one of the family affairs that we've got here this afternoon, it is Aaron Tremaine taking on your new national record holder, Tyrone Tremaine. An untidy burnout down there for Tyrone. The Terminator, as he's been nicknamed, has made 5 consecutive final rounds dating back to before last year's Winter Nationals, dates back to the Nitro champs last year. Well, and he was going for 5 consecutive race meetings with a win. Didn't quite get it, lost on a hole shot. He'll be looking to avenge that this weekend.
Well, Tyrone's won the last 2 Winter Nationals in Pro Stock. But what I can tell you about Aaron, though, in the other lane, besides Tyrone, he's got a brand new engine on board. They've been doing a bit of R&D. They were here last weekend at the warm-ups testing this new engine, and it showed a lot of promise. So that 690 from Rob Deckett could be under fire here in this session, in this pairing, I should say.
Drag racing's a funny sport, isn't it? Tyrone Tremaine, you know, statistically would be one of the greatest drivers that we've ever had in this country if it wasn't for the guy in the other lane. If it wasn't for his brother, he would have won a bunch of championships. He is a former Australian champion in his own right.
Yes, exactly.
But he's you know, just been on the unlucky side of things for a long time. It feels like that tide started to turn a little bit over the last couple of years.
Yep.
So, Aaron Tremaine in the silver car. Tyrone Tremaine, the Camaro, the black, mean, Terminator-looking car.
To get that number 1 spot at the moment, 6.903 is the time to beat. 441 to half track is what Deckett ran.
1006 to 1007 on the 60 foots. They are absolutely welded together across the line. 691 to a 6900. I think that's enough for the number 1 spot provisionally, but we're not done with the first session yet. So Aaron Tremaine will go to number 1 by 0.03 of a second. Tyron Tremaine into number 3, and we've already got the top half of what will be this 8-car field in the 6-second zone. And I think we've still got about 5 cars left to run.
I didn't think Aaron had enough then to get that number 1 spot, because he was 100th down at half track to Rob Deckett.
Yeah, I think.
But he came home strong, 198.99 mile an hour, so he was almost a full mile an hour faster than Deckett.
He's got some steam. Yeah, that motor's got some steam in it at the other end of the racetrack. Next up, it is Mario Polito, our championship number 3 as it stands at the moment. Taking on Rick Milton.
This pairing will give us a bump spot and someone on the outside of the field.
And that's what we like about Pro Stock. That is what we like about Pro Stock. So, Mario Polito knocked out a couple more PBs down in Sydney. I think it was 694 off the top of my head. You've got the numbers there, Mark. Mark, the stats man. Also, the 00 Big Show. I think I'm going to call you that from now on as well. I like that. Rick Chilton, on the other hand, he finished second in the championship last year. He was in with a shot at winning the championship. Rolling into the Winter Nats last year. Things quite fall in his favour, but still was a career best year. It's been a little bit more challenging for him this year. He's a fair way down in the points, but this car has still got plenty of horsepower, let me tell you. He can still knock out a number when he wants to.
Yeah, both these cars can definitely go into the 6-second zone here. So Mario, I was talking to Mario, they're trying a few things this weekend. They're changing the rear wing, looking for a bit more top-end speed.
Yep.
Out of this car. They tested here at Willowbank at the warm-ups as well, so to get, just to get some data, and they're very happy with that.
It was a last-minute decision to come up to the warm-ups as well. Wasn't part of the plan, but they said, you know what, we got to try some things. So they came out. Hopefully they learned what they needed to learn. It is Q1 for Pro Stock. We will have a bump spot after this session. Mario Polito, Rick Chilton. 1.08 for Mario Polito. This is on a pretty good run. This will be a mid to low 690, I would think, across the line. 7.05 went away a little bit at the other end of the racetrack, and a 6.95.
Rick Chilton, great pass.
Yeah, that is a really good run. 6.95, 197 after only a 101 to the 60. So gave up a 100th of a second compared to what we've seen from the quickest cars in this session, and still manages to knock out a 6.95 at 197. So he will slot into the number 4 spot. And as it stands at the moment, our bump spot in Pro Stock is already a 7.08.
Already, at 9 cars down the track, and a 7.08 is the bump spot in Pro Stock already.
Well, we've still got two more cars left to come in this session. It is Tony Polito taking on John Barbagallo. John Barbagallo currently second in the championship. Tony Polito 5th in this Pro Stock championship. But when you look at it, it is a very, very tight field that we have already got here in Pro Stock, and we've got a long, long way to go, let me tell you. Ray Oxley is the man currently sitting on the bump spot. Now, Tony Polito, I wouldn't say that you would expect him to have the outright performance that we've seen from the quickest cars in this field. But that being said, he can certainly slot in somewhere in the middle to bottom half of this field.
Well, they know that. They'll even tell you that themselves. They're a little bit down on power compared to the other cars. But they have run a best of a 7.02. Their first goal this weekend is to qualify. That's the big goal for the team. They want to be in this field on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. Making the field is step one, because you don't get to race on Sunday if you don't qualify. You can't get too far ahead of yourself, and that goes for the quick guys in this field as well. John Barbagallo was a winner at the first round of the championship back in Sydney in November last year, and it was a fantastic return to form for him, because he has sat out, hasn't run the full season for a long, long time. This is the first year that he's run the full season, and he's making it count, currently second in the championship points. Does have a shot to take down Rob Deckett, but if he is going to take down Rob Deckett in this championship chase, man, he needs to start moving now.
And getting bonus points as well, qualifying well. Already, if you want to be in the top half of the field, you need to be quicker than a 6.95. Yeah, just to get into the top 4 and have lane choice in round 1 of racing.
Less than a 10th of a second away from the new national record if you want to get into the top half of the field. That is incredible. Tony Polito, John Barbagallo. This should be a good one. And John Barbagallo, he's been known as the horsepower king of Pro Stock for a long, long time. What can the Rooster deliver this time around? 102 to the 60. He's left a little bit on the table there. 101 for Tony Polito is pretty stout, though. Or loose for John Barbagallo. Very, very loose for John Barbagallo across the stripe. He got the shoots out, and I think it straightened the car up. But, man, he got way, way loose. I'm not sure if he got the wall down there, but that thing was very, very, very sideways. 697, 195, and a new set of undies for John Barbagallo.
Yeah, he goes into the field at number 5 spot. Polito goes to number 8 with a 7.05, so the bump spot now is a 7.05 for Tony Polito. Murray Polito's on the outside, Oxley on the outside, and Kabura on the outside now, Pro Stock. But all eyes then were on John Barbagallo.
It looked like the car washed out a little bit towards the centre line, and then it snapped back on him. Being the experienced racer that he is, he dropped the chutes straight away. He knew he needed to get the chutes out. And if you are new to drag racing and you're wondering why is that so important, well, the parachutes almost act like an anchor out the back of the car. They pull the car straight, and they have a lot more impact on anything the car's doing than the steering wheel will ever do. You get those chutes out, it tends to pull the car straight and hopefully keep things shiny. By the look of it, I don't think he got any concrete down there. Let's have a look at the replay one more time. And this will give us a pretty good look. You can see how close the car is to the centre line right there, and then it just moves massively.
That's a good drive job there for
that was an incredible drive job.
Yeah.
Make some noise, Willowbank Raceway, because John Barbagallo used every single ounce of his experience in that situation.
The one car you don't want moving around the top end is a Pro Stock car. They've got no downforce on those cars. It's all about aerodynamics, and we often see the things that we don't want to see with Pro Stock cars when they start moving around like that at top end.
That's about as sideways as you'll ever see a Pro Stock car and still stay shiny side up. That's an incredible drive job from John Barbagallo, but with that, we do have a bump spot in Pro Stock, and in all the excitement, it was Tony Polito that took the bump spot. 7.05 with a 7, bumped out Mario Polito, his brother, with a 7.05 with an 8.
1 thou between them.
Looking at the qualifying list, after Q1 in Pro Stock, Aaron Tremaine is your number 1 with a 6.900. Rob Deckard only 0.03 of a second behind him in number 2. Tyrone Tremaine in number 3 with a 6.91. Rick Chilton in number 4 with a 6.95, rounding out the top half of the field. John Barbagallo in 5th with a 6.97. Omar Sedmak number 6 with a 6.98. Thomas Leake a 7.037 will put him in number 7 as it stands at the moment. And Tony Polito rounding out your 8-car field in Pro Stock with a 7.05 with a 7. Mario Polito, Ray Oxley and John Kabura, the 3 cars on the outside looking in. But that being said, we've still got 2 more sessions. I'd expect to see a fair bit of shuffling of that deck before we're done.
Oh, mate, I think you're right, because obviously after this first session, the team's going to get all that data. They're all going to try and improve in Q2 and Q3. I think you might not even be safe running like a 6.99 or 6.98. You might need to be quicker than that.
I reckon...
Because I look at the cars on the outside, like, Mario can run into the 6s.
Yeah, Thomas Leake can run deep into the 6s as well. Omar Sedmak can improve a bunch on that 6.98. I would say, Ray Oxley is there or thereabouts as well. That was an early shut-off for him.
And Tony as well, 7.05. He's only a couple hundredths off his PB.
So, yeah, I'm going to say well and truly the bump is going to be down into the very high 690s, maybe even the 697, 698 by the time we're done here this weekend. But that is Pro Stock, and we are going to move now into Pro Stock Bike. Interestingly, I've been handed a new seating sheet here for Pro Bike Q1, and it has got a very interesting name crossed out.
That is interesting.
Luke Crowley apparently will not be coming out for this first qualifying session. I'm not sure why. We got handed this sheet at the last minute, so we don't have any more information other than Luke Crowley will not
championship
be
leader.
Championship leader and former national champion of everything.
Oversubscribed field as well for Pro Bike. Like, it's critical. Qualifying is critical. Missing one session is huge.
It's going to put him on the back foot. 11 bikes in the field here this weekend.
Let's talk about these guys on the start line.
That is Jason Lee. He is your championship number 2 as it stands at the moment, and managed to take home the win at the last round down in Sydney at the Nitro Champs. Ryan Learmont, he's over from Western Australia. First time for a little while. Great to see him across, Mark.
Yeah, Ryan's it's his first time here for a few years, Ryan. They haven't raced much for the last couple of years at all, but they're here. This bike has run into the very low 7-second zone. It has run a PB of a 7.07. Jason Lee, he's won 2 of the 3 events this season in Pro Bike. Both bikes in pre-stage. Ryan Learmont, Jason Lee.
Nice launch, 112 to the 60 for Jason Lee. He knocked out a 717 and he sat up down there at half track. That's not what he would have wanted. 754 is a nice run for Ryan Learmont. Maybe left a little bit on the table from where they would have wanted to be, but 178 is good speed. Yeah,
good speed there for Ryan Learmont. He was definitely slow to the 60 foot, so I'm not sure if they were a bit soft off the start line there. But he goes to that early number 1 spot. Jason Lee, he was strong. He was a couple tenths quicker than Learmonth to half track.
That's about as clean as I've seen a pro bike leave for a long time.
Yeah, 112, the 60. That's great.
That's a very, very sharp 60-foot time for Jason Lee. But it looked like he might have had trouble maybe plucking a gear down there at about half track. He sat up pretty early on. But either way, we have got plenty of bikes here this weekend, and it's going to keep on rolling. Morris Allen rolling up to the line, and he's going to take on Callum Gadisi. Now, just looking down there, Gadisi sounds like that bike motor shut off.
Well, that's unfortunate. Hopefully they've got it. They can get it started back up, because Callum, they've been away from pro bike for 17 years. They're back.
Yeah, it's
in a big bad way.
It's incredible actually to look at some of the names that have come back into pro bike over the last couple of years. Paul Andrews is another one who raced way back in the late 90s, early 2000s in pro bike. Took a little bit of time away to focus on the business interests, and well, now he's back and he's racing here this weekend. Now I can see Morris Allen's actually pushing the bike away, so he's not going to be making this pass here against Callum Gadisi. Gadisi with a similar colour scheme to what he had back in the back in the day as well. Very cool to see.
Well, he's run 720 on this bike at 183 miles an hour, so that's the PB for this bike for Callum.
That's pretty stout.
Yeah,
that is pretty stout. Now you talk about
when I look at who built the motor for him, it's an 1850cc monster built by Trevor Birrell.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it for you. That's why he's got a bit of horsepower on board.
Yeah, Trevor Birrell, if you're going to go racing pro bike, Trevor Birrell's not a bad guy to have in your corner. Spun the tyre pretty hard off the start line, but still okay. 116 to the 60-foot timers, and he's on a pretty nice pass here. 725 at 187. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a PB speed.
Yeah, that PB speed. He's up around that 190 odd.
That's showing horsepower, yeah. And
that's got some steam, that thing.
It wasn't happy off the start line, so it was not a clean launch for the bike either for Gadisi. So, yeah, 725, he goes to that early number 1 spot. The crew looked happy. They were clapping their hands down there.
Oh, well, you'd have to be happy with 725. You look at times and you look at benchmarks in pro bike, 720 is a pretty quick run. Anything quicker than that, you're definitely at the pointy end of the field. But to give you an idea, the record, the ET record for pro bike is a 696. It was set by Katie Sullivan, a US visitor, back in 2019 at this event, the Winternationals, back in 2019. Incredible to think that it stood for 6 years.
Well, Luke Crowley's gone 690.
Yes,
but he didn't back it up.
That's right. So it's interesting to see that 696 is still the number up on the boards. Of course,
there's a few bikes in this field that can definitely nudge
that. And that's kind of what I'm getting towards. It's with the quality of bike that we've got here this weekend. You look down the list, but we are going to have to go and talk to Luke Crowley and try and figure out exactly what's happened and why he didn't come out for this first session this afternoon. Interesting.
It is very interesting. And I said that losing a qualifying pass can be critical, especially on one of these bikes if you don't get the start line right. So suddenly you could be down 2 passes going to Q3 under pressure. And
speaking of being under pressure, it looks like Scott White is pushing his motorcycle back down there. So I don't know if they've gone to fire it and no dice, but for whatever reason, Scott White is pushing that bike back. And, of course, that does mean that the pressure is going to be on. So 2 of the guys that are going to be on the outside looking in after this first session is Scott White and Luke Crowley.
Who would have thought? Well, we know Scott White can run to low 7, and Morris Allen as well.
Yeah, so there's your 3 guys who are going to be on the outside looking in, provided everyone else goes down the racetrack. So that's it's a bit of
well, Scott had a bit of damage in Sydney, so they've had to sort of thrash to get this motor together.
Bit of a weird one here in Pro Bike Q1, as we see Tony Frost. That beautiful green, yellow and orange bike. The Frost Racing motorcycle just looks absolutely spectacular out there on the racetrack. He's taking on Andrew Badcock from Slacks Creek, the Pro Cycle Dyno Spider-Man bike. This is a cool bike. it's just...
Well, that is very cool, actually. I was just looking at Tony Frost. He's probably got one of the smaller engines in the field, only 1655cc on board for Tony Frost. They got down to the 720, 730s in Sydney, finding their feet again. Andrew Badcock, he got runner-up at the 2023 Winternationals on this bike.
He did. This is going to be an interesting one. This will give us a pretty good read on where things are, because Tony Frost, generally speaking, is one of the most consistent riders in this field. He generally will go down the racetrack more times than not.
It's funny you say that, because that's one of their things that they like about their team. They like to be consistent, Tony Frost.
Yeah.
So that's one of their, things that they go for.
A little bit untidy off the start line. Still goes 1-1-5.
Crosses towards the centre line.
Yeah.
Oh, did he go across?
Yeah,
he has gone across, yeah.
And he quite kindly avoided all the timing cones down there.
Yeah.
So he got back into his own lane, and that was actually, I've got to give props to Tony Frost there. That's experience, and that's some camaraderie there as well, because he actually pulled into his own lane to make sure that he didn't foul the time for Andrew Badcock in the other lane as well. So that 12.16 for Andrew Badcock should stand because Tony Frost went back into his own lane. The 9.27 for Tony Frost, that won't stand. He did cross the centre line.
So that he'll be at the bottom of the field as well. Looking at it though, look at the positives for Tony Frost. That was a clean launch.
Yeah, 115.
115 to the 60. I think that's the second quickest we've seen so far this session for Pro Bike. It just sort of went towards the centre line. And obviously once you went over the centre line, that was it.
Yeah, exactly. And next up, it is probably a lady who's got a fair few nerves on board at the moment, and that is Vanessa Rodham. Her first start in Pro Bike here this week, and on a bike prepared by no less than Luke Crowley. This is going to be interesting because although it is her first event or first competitive event in Pro Bike, has gone down into the 720s in testing and licensing.
Well, when she licensed, she went 721, 187 miles an hour.
Yeah. Talking to Luke down at the Nitros, he told me that, and I think he could see the look of disbelief on my face, and he said, no, she did it. She went 720. She can ride. She's got the goods. She's going to take on Paul Andrews in this first round of qualifying. This should be a pretty good matchup here because, these Pro Bikes, although they look, tame is the wrong word, they look almost clinical when they're going well. These are probably some of the hardest bikes to ride in all the drag racing. Because of the way that you sit up in them, because of the way you've got to shift through gears, it's a very unnatural sort of riding style. It takes a lot of experience to get these bikes down the track in quick fashion. But Vanessa Rodham, she's taking it to it like a duck to water. Spun very, very hard off the start line. Paul Andrews not too shabby. 118 to the 60-foot time is 476 to half track and a 742. That'll put him at the top half of the field as it stands at the moment. 742 at 178 miles per hour. All of a sudden, that run from Callum Gadisi is looking very, very nice indeed. He is the provisional number one with a 725, and Andrews slots into number two. Still one more bike left to go in this first qualifying session, and that is Daniel Rabnott, the Rabtech Racing bike. I'm just waiting for the fire-up signal down there, and we will keep going, and this will give us a bump spot.
I was going to say, this one will give us a bump spot at the moment, so it'll give us 8 bikes down the field with ETs. We did have a few not turn out this session.
Yeah, well, so with that,
actually,
Tony Frost
and
Tony Frost will go to the number 8 spot because he did go down the racetrack. So Daniel Rabnott on a solo pass here, 11 bikes, strongest field in a long time for Pro Bike. Great to see, that is for sure. As Daniel Rabnott rolls up to the start line for his first run in a little while, probably since
they've had some challenges. They've had some challenges, Rabnott, in this team. Any sort of a clean pass here would just be a good confidence booster for him.
Yeah.
The Rabtech Active Civil Construction Suzuki for Daniel Rabnott.
That's clean.
This is a good clean pass. This will get him in the top half of the field.
Very nice.
Very good.
737 at 181 miles per hour over that 180 mile an hour mark. So 737, they'll put him in the number 2 spot, I think.
It does put him in the number 2 spot. I've just got a message through about Luke Crowley. Just chose not to run today.
Oh, okay. No worries. So nothing sinister. Wow, when you look at the qualifying list after Q1 for Pro Bike, did you expect this? Callum Gadisi, number 1 with a 725.
I'm sure Callum expected it.
Daniel Rabnott, number 2 with a 737. Paul Andrews in number 3 with a 742. Ryan Learmont, top half of the field for the West Aussie with a 754, followed by Tony Frost will be put to the bottom of the field. So that means Jason Lee will move up to number 5, Andrew Badcock to number 6, and Vanessa Rodham to number 8, and Tony Frost will round out the 8 bikes that we had down the track here in this first qualifying session. Wow, did not expect that. My apologies, Vanessa Rodman, I should say. Apologies for getting that wrong. So Hey, I can stick my hand up when I get it wrong. No dramas. So we're going to move into some Pro Mod action now. It is Fuel Tech Pro Mod, and it looks like first car out will be, or first pair out will be a couple of blown cars. It is Daniel Camilleri down there taking on Peter Gratz. So this should be a good one. Love a bit of Pro Mod action, although when you talk about championships that are, I'm not going to say it's beyond doubt, but when you look at the championship scenario in Pro Mod, Zoran Gajic has got 1.5 hands on the trophy as it stands at the moment.
There's 2 rounds of the championship left. There's obviously this weekend for the Winter Nationals and then the grand final event at the Spring Nationals.
Yep.
You said, yeah. See, now this one, the one earlier today with Deckett was only 100 points. This one's at nearly 200 points. So you're right. He's pretty much got this sewn up when he qualified, almost.
Just about.
But on track, we have got Peter Gratz taking on Daniel Camilleri.
Funny how the decibels go up when the blown cars roll out onto the start line. Peter Gratz, Daniel Camilleri. Gratzy, he's been pretty consistent in the 5-second zone now. He's become a bit of a hitter when it comes to Pro Mod. Made the final at the first round of the series back in Sydney last year. Did go down to Zoran Gajic, but it was a nice little confidence builder for Peter Gratz. Daniel Camilleri, on the other hand, still running with the small block.
Yeah, the small block, but he's going all right, mate.
He's going all right. He's knocking out some very low 6-second zones.
Runner-up at the Winter Nationals last year, but issues with Gratz, he can't get into reverse. So I spoke to Peter before this weekend started, and they were sort of focusing on the first 60 foot of the racetrack. They want to sort of improve on those short times, and it looks like that might not happen in this session here for Peter Gratz. Obviously, they want to move this car as quick as possible because Camilleri will want to get into stage. They might just have to send him on and get him off the track. Have to push him back here.
So I would be surprised if the car's still running down there.
If it's still running and it's only got the 40s, he might be able to complete a pass here.
Yeah, it could just be
he might just not have reverse.
Yeah, reverse is a slight issue.
Yeah, looks like the crew's guiding him back into stage. Yeah. Camilleri's doing the sportsman thing here. He hasn't moved forward yet. I'm sure he wants to move forward.
Yeah, that's very, very sportsmanlike from Daniel Camilleri. So they're pushing it back, and it actually, yeah, the blower belt's not spinning around down there. So I think,
it's off, yep.
I think Peter Gratz will go back, and Daniel Camilleri on a solo pass in this first session of Pro Mod qualifying. Nice drive job. Pulled it away from the centre line. I don't know how he did it
early.
I don't know how he did it when the front wheels were in the air, but a 645 at 190 miles per hour off it a little bit early, but that's a nice little builder for Daniel Camilleri.
Yeah, I think that probably would have been in the low 630s out the back door there for Daniel Camilleri. Of course, this is Pro Mod, heads up, running on a fixed index of 5.85 seconds. So what does that mean? Well, in this class, as long as you get to the finish line first, don't go quicker than 5.85 seconds, you get the win in Pro Mod, and you can do it whatever way you want with whatever power plant. You can be supercharged nitrous. We've got the nitrous car here this weekend, turbos, you name it.
Mate, and that's what it's all about. It's just about run what you brung and run 585. If you can do that, congratulations.
That's the big equaliser, is that 585 index. And you've got cars in this field that can run into the 550s and 560s. And they've got that's the fun part of it, is trying to tune these cars to run that 585. So the crew chief's challenge is to take the power out or put the power in and try and run on that 585 depending on the weather conditions, track conditions. You've got those variables to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you've got cars like small block supercharged combination with Daniel Camilleri, steel body as well, just quietly. Very heavy car. And then you move across to this absolute behemoth. It is Barry Plumpton all the way from there to the long white cloud. There is a definite Kiwi invasion this weekend.
Have a look at the flag on the back there.
And I am here for it. He's going to take on championship leader Zoran Gajic. Now, Barry was supposed to race down in Sydney. They were hoping that they were going to be able to race, but tragically lost a close family member in the lead up to that event, so they did not race down in Sydney. They said, we're going to be back at the Winters with a vengeance. They want to come out here. The car is actually living over here now. So
Yes,
he's
yeah,
going to be doing a lot more racing in Australia, which I've got to be honest, the one thing Australian drag racing has been missing is big cube nitrous cars.
Well, it's running into the 580s here at Willowbank Raceway at the Winternationals a couple of years ago for Barry Plumpton. Like, watch this thing at night. It is a special vehicle to watch.
And I believe that the car has had a full rebuild since then.
You'd be correct, mate. They've done a lot of the routine sort of maintenance in between running. Just looking at the planes from the airbase here overhead here at Willowbank Raceway.
Look, everyone wants to see the winner, that's for sure. Let's talk about Zoran Gajic. We haven't spoken about him. He's won everything. He's got championships under his belt. He's currently leading the championship. Managed to blow out 2 front tyres in the second round of racing in Sydney and still managed to come home with big trophy. It's been a good season so far.
Well, he's looking to go 3 in a row here at the Gulf Western Oil Winternationals. Is Zoran Gajic? He's won the last 2.
Now, if I know Zoran and I know these guys, how they race, I'd expect to see Zoran go out and go something, maybe a 587, 588, somewhere around there.
Mate, they've got a dog.
Get a banker, and then they'll turn the screws and try and get it down to that 585.
You call going 5.8 seconds a banker?
Yes. For Zoran, it is. This thing is Australia's fastest bracket car. It is so consistent, this thing. Usually up over 250 miles per hour every single time. Picks the front wheels up at 330. That's the way he does it. And nice pass, 592, 247 for Zoran Gajic, and a 605 for Barry Plumpton. How's the 60 foot for Barry Plumpton? 967 to the 60.
In a sedan, that is incredible.
Stout. That's stout for any sedan, let alone a nitrous
that's
car.
what I mean. Like that is really.
That's incredible.
That tells me they've got their car set up well.
And both cars sub 4 seconds to half track as well. 399 for Zoran Gajic, 395 for Barry Plumpton.
He was half a tenth ahead of Gajic at half track, and obviously didn't have the top end charge. I think Plumpton can run to the 240 mile an hour zone.
Yep. Very, very cool to see. All right, next up it is going to be Neil Murphy taking on Steve Smith. Now, Neil Murphy was a bit of a naughty boy last time out in Sydney, and I'm not going to make any bones about it. He was running way under the 585 index, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but when you're running 570s and 571...
this is the challenge I was just talking about earlier before. Trying to slow it down, and that's what they're struggling. They're trying to work out how do we slow it down to run that 585 index.
Leave it idle. That's about the only thing I can think of. It was a bracket car. It was so consistent, but he was just way too quick. Hopefully he's got it dialed back a little bit this time around. It's going to take on Steve Smith I'm still going to say, this car's still got the new car smell. The fantastic looking Corvette.
Mate, these guys have done some kilometres this week. They drove to Sydney on Tuesday to pick up a gearbox.
Oh, wow. Wow.
New gearbox, converter.
It's not really any surprise to me, though, because they have been such staunch supporters of Pro Mod with their previous car, the Mustang. Started life with a Radar car, but now they've stepped across into this absolute work of art. It is such a gorgeous piece of machinery. I don't think it's got down into the 5s yet. I think he knocked out a 605, 602.
Yeah, into the 6.0s.
Down in Sydney, but I think they're still looking for their first 5-second run for this car. And I think it'll be their first 5-second run overall. So this will be an interesting one. Neil Murphy, we know he can run the number. We know he can run way quicker than the number. Maybe he just needs to drop the chutes a bit early. Who knows? I don't know what the game plan is for Neil.
He might have to back off at 1,000 foot.
I'm sure he'll go back, watch this on the stream, and then he'll probably message me on Facebook afterwards, so that's okay. Let me know what's going on.
.592, that's the time to beat to get that number 1 spot in qualifying at the moment for Pro Mod. Bit of shake for Smith.
Oh,
he goes 585 with the shootout early. Neil Murphy drove into the chute.
Yep.
That was planned with the chute.
Yeah, that was absolutely planned with the chute. And 585 with a 9. That will be a candidate for the number 1 qualified. To give you an idea, he was 382 to the 8th mile marker. 382, that's almost, it's almost 2/10 of a second quicker than what we saw out of Zoran Gajic.
He is competitive for Slammer.
Absolutely.
Neil Murphy.
Absolutely he is, and I think that is probably the end game, is to step across into top.
He's not going to be able to do that all weekend with the shoots out early.
No.
It's when you're playing that fine line.
Or can he?
You never know, but 585 with the shoots out early, the 1 metre further down track and he goes too quick.
Can you put the shoots on a timer? Yeah. Just saying. All right, next up it is the Pro Mod. It is Stu Walsh, and he's going to take on Nasamata in the 37 Chevy Business Coupe. Beautifully presented car, this one, the A7 car out of Sydney. Stu Walsh, the Kiwi call him? Part of the, we'll call him part of the Kiwi invasion this weekend. I think he'd cop that.
I love this little Chevy of Nasamata.
It's a cool car, isn't it?
It is a very cool looking car. The A-Civil.
They're going to be a team to watch over the next couple of years. With the arsenal that they've got in the shed, and knowing how competitive these guys are, when they do things, they don't do things by half. They come in and they want to win. And Nasamata is getting super comfortable driving this car. He's comfortable into the fives. He's also running in top Doorslammer as well this weekend. This is going to be a team to watch. It's going to be a tough one for them, running two cars and doing double duty, but at the same time they are very similar type of cars as well. So Stu Walsh, on the other hand, the twin turbo Hemi powered Camaro.
Yeah, they showed some promising signs in Sydney a few weeks ago in this Camaro, the moving mobile auto electric car. He has won the Winter Nationals in Pro Mod.
Yeah,
a few years back. Stu Walsh. He can be a very consistent 590, 580 car.
Yeah. As can Nasamata. Good mix of cars here this weekend. Stu Walsh, Nasamata. That's pretty clean for Nasamata. 385 to the 60.
It shoots out early as well,
I should say, and a 590 at 225 with the shoots out. He was only a couple of hundred slower to the half track marker than Neil Murphy was.
And he did the same thing as Murphy. Shoots out early.
Yeah.
Washed off a bit of ET and speed there. Stu Walsh, though, in the lane beside him, got out real strong, 988 to the 60 foot. Then it looked like he might have got a little bit of shake there. Actually, he might have had shake before the 60 foot, looking at it now from up here in our vantage point in the commentary box for Stu Walsh.
Both cars were sub 1 second to the 60, which indicates they were both on pretty decent launches. But yeah, you were right. Stu Walsh's car just went quiet there pretty early in the piece, and a 10-second pass is not going to get the job done this time around, as we see. Next car rolling up to the line, and this will give us an 8-car field, or a bump spot per se. And I believe this is Mark Harris who will be rolling up to the line.
On the Nomad.
With the Chevy Nomad. Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
This is one of my favourite cars in Australian drag racing. It's been through a couple of different hands over the years, and it's now in the capable hands of Mark Harris. How cool is that thing?
Well, this thing's running to the 590.
Yeah.
In the past. So Mark Harris was originally entered in top Doorslammer this weekend, but changed to Pro Mod. So this is a very competitive car for Pro Mod in that 5-second zone. And we've got 7 cars down the track so far here, Pro Mod. Neil Murphy, number 1. That's going to be tough to take away. 585 with a 9.
Zora Engagey could give it a go, though.
Oh, he will. He'll give it a go.
He's going to give it a red-hot crack.
But even just to get in the top half of the field already, it's a 605.
And it's good to see, because it was a little bit of a mixed bag down in Sydney. A lot of guys really struggled. I think we only had one 5-second run throughout all qualifying. So coming into the first round, it was a bit of a lucky dip, for lack of a better word. So good to see these guys starting to get a little bit more consistency across the board.
Mate, there'll be a day we'll have 8 cars in 5.8 in qualifying.
Absolutely, I don't doubt it. But this is the final car for this first qualifying session in Pro Mod. We are going to be moving into some top Doorslammer action in the not too distant future. Car sounds a bit strange. It's not quite idling the way I would have expected it to.
Looks like it's mixing up a cylinder on the left main here on the launch. Still got 621, 225 mile an hour for Mark Harris, the Alpha Performance Nomad.
621, as lazy as you like it.
Yeah, he was definitely dropping a cylinder here on the left side from my vantage point.
It sounded like it was shifting pretty early in the piece as well. So 621 at 225. That's a solid banker there for Mark Harris. So we do now have a bump spot in Pro Mod. And your number one qualifier at the moment, it is going to be Neil Murphy, only 9 thousandths of a second away from perfect. And with that, we will say goodbye to Mark Allen for a little while. Don't go too far, mate, because you'll be back for Pro Alcohol in the not-too-distant future. And also, please don't leave me alone with this guy who's coming onto the microphone next. It is my old mate, Wade Oranger. Welcome back to the mic, mate. Great to have you here.
Feel like I'm getting older every day, and that's kind of what's happening. Good afternoon to you, Rusty. Hello, Queensland. Hello, Switch. It is the Gulf Western Oil Winternationals, and what an iconic event it is. Doorslammer is off its proverbial head, and for the first time this season, we're actually rolling with elimination, because we don't do that in the NDRC. We have an all-run format. So we've rocked in with an incredible 17 cars to begin with. I believe we're down to 16.
We are. Courtesy Mark Harris just shifting gears across into promo. Now, it looks like Daniel Gregorini's having some problems firing the car up down here. They're messing around with the starter on the front. They've plugged it back in. Hopefully they'll be able to get this thing fired, because he is, without a doubt, one of the class performers in Top Doorslammer. But they are working frantically, and in the meantime, Jack Danaher, he's almost back to the start line down here.
And Daniel has had a very, very frustrating year. Comparatively, his wife has had a monumental. Jack Danaher, this stunning Wild Ink Corvette, and has Jason Cunliffe back on the tune of his motor in this incredible looking van. Jack has run into the fives on 2 separate occasions at the Nitro Champ, so he's been stout to say the least. And this is going to hopefully be a continuing upward spiral for him.
Driven a lot of different cars over the years, Jack Danaher, so it's not daunting for him in any way, shape or form to jump across into Top Doorslammer.
Looks like coming in.
Yeah, they're pushing him away, so that's not the start to the Winternationals that Daniel Gregorini would have wanted. Jack Danaher, on the other hand,
man,
ride him, cowboy. That thing got up on the tyre quicker than a jiffy and just absolutely blazed them.
Oh, man.
That, I wasn't expecting that on this racetrack. This is a very, very well-prepared racetrack, and to blow the tyres off, he was throwing the kitchen sink and everything else at it. And a 16-second run probably not going to get the job done in this field.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. It's now, because we're doing the elimination thing, Rusty, it's like all about, you have got to run good numbers in qualifying. You always did in Crocam's Australia qualifying, but this really puts a degree of urgency into the situation where 16th will run number one.
And that's the reason why you need to qualify well, because if you are towards the bottom of the qualifying list, your reward is taking on the guys who are at the very fast end of the field in the first round of racing come, tomorrow afternoon, not Sunday morning. It will be on Saturday afternoon. The other tricky thing, and this is where it's going to be challenging for Daniel Gregorini, only 2 rounds of qualifying for Top Doorslammer because of that 16-car field. So that means Gregorini is going to be on the back foot to try and get this thing down the racetrack.
So an interesting matchup here. Pete Lovering, who's been dubbed the Colonel these days, with ongoing passion with Kentucky Fried. They are 240 pounds lighter than last year in the shoebox. And Salim, his dad, just ran down there very nicely indeed in Pro Mod. And Salim has had a pretty good test session at the Sydney Dragway in the 5.7, mid-570 bracket.
Wow.
575, 576. They're asking, is that the quickest licensing pass? And I'm trying to work out where Russell Taylor was, because I know that he previously was the quickest in that regard.
It'd be pretty close to the mark. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say it for sure, though.
I know that they were asking the question big time. And this guy too, Pete Lovering, has been struggling to get below Cruz, his son, with his ET for some time. He's around the 584 side of things, but now a 578. They kind of took care of that at the Nitro Champs, and they're learning more and more about the Atcol 55.
They're figuring out the balance of this car now that they've got the new body on it. It's lost a lot of weight, this car. They put it on a bit of a diet.
240 pounds, and they reckon that's nothing to do with heat. That's just in the car.
And they're just trying to work out exactly what it wants. And as you said, that 578, man, that's moving in the right direction. Salim Matter, on the other hand, this car has got some pedigree. It's won championships. It has won events. It was the two-time championship winning car that Paul Mahayat drove more than a couple of years ago. So you've got to think this car, it can go down the racetrack, basically the same combination of what was in it back then. And no pressure coming into the biggest race of the year, making your first start in Top Doorslammer.
They're pretty laid back, the Matters, that's for sure. Lovering is already in waiting for him. Pete Lovering and Salim Matter. Salim on debut. And as you said, that is one sexy hot rod in the left-hand lane. Oh boy, he lifted. Good news. And Pete carried the front wheels off the ground as well. Nice run for Pete. 583. It's about back where he was at the start of the year, but man, Salim, that got his attention.
I think Pedlin Pete might have pedalled it twice there to a 583. It picked up the front wheels, he got off it and got back on, and then it came up even higher. Peter Lovering, a 583 at 244. That's a nice, solid finding out run for him. And, well, I would say you're going to have to be deep into the 580s to at least be in the top half of the field here this weekend. So with that, we move into our next matchup, and it is another part of the Kiwi invasion. It is Nigel Dixon taking on Jeremy Callahan.
So Callahan and Dixon, interesting battle between the pair of them. Jeremy Callahan, who, whoa, hello, Nigel, had it all kinds of out of shape. Thanks, Stephen Donnell, appreciate it for the tip. Boy, Nigel, the Kiwi, had that thing all sorts of bound up just then. Jeremy Callahan, who can run a 569 in another car with amazing pedigree. This car was originally built to be a Doorslammer, then it was switched to a Pro Mod, and then constant badgering from the Lovering family, Pete in particular, about screw blower. And he kind of gave in to the pressure.
It's nice to have mates, isn't it?
I mean, he's doing a lot better with it now. 70.5, and it's just sweet. Cruz Lovering on that team. And when Dad took the 5.8 off the table, Cruz has been awfully quiet around the workshop.
Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. I'm sure we'll see Cruz come out and have another swing at it, but right now, Jeremy Callahan taking on Nigel Dixon. The thing that I love about Jeremy Callahan is that they've left the battle scars on this thing. They've fixed it, they've got it back to where it needs to be, but they've left the battle scars on it after its little oopsie over in Perth earlier on in the season.
What a comeback though, to go upside down like that and then come back to win the round at the dragway at the bend. Callahan and Dixon, it's qualifying number 1 of the NDRC Top Doorslammer Championship. Boy, Callahan had to drive it. Dixon, he didn't get out of the hole, but it was a much straighter proposition. 595 for Nigel Dixon. The Kiwis, they'll take that all day, every day. And Jeremy had to lift. The thing was all sorts of squirrely. They'll have to go back and work on that for the second round. But nice start for the Kiwis. Nigel Dixon runs a 595, puts him at number 2 qualifier.
Looking at the replay there for Jeremy Callahan, he got out of the throttle and it was almost like he thought, no, this one's done, I'm just going to coast it through. Then he got back on the throttle. It was like he just needed to get some of the stress out. 623, 248 miles per hour. So he went across the stripe well and truly under full steam there, but 623, lots of tyre shake on board for Jeremy Callahan. Nigel Dixon, our Kiwi friend, moves into the number 2 qualifying spot in Top Doorslammer. They've come to play this weekend, haven't they?
And it's been really good having them in the championship. They've only run a couple of times with us. And, of course, that Falcon was built right here in Queensland as well, the ex-Brett Stevens car. So really cool to have him here. And likewise, his mate that I lovingly refer to in a world's fastest Indian, the Burt Munro of the field, Steve Carlson, in that gorgeous red Falcon as well. So the boys have kind of alternated between Pro Mod and Doorslammer since they came over, and it was Carlson who actually debuted with us at the dragway at the bend. It did a pretty solid job.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he jumped back into Pro Mod last time out and managed to take home the runner-up trophy. It was only an oil leak that set him back in the final round down at the Nitro Champs in Sydney in Pro Mod, but he's back into Doorslammer here this weekend. And, well, with that, he's going to be getting the fire-up signal in the not-too-distant future. That absolutely beautifully presented Ford Falcon Sprint. Love that car. It is such a cool-looking thing, and it's great to see another different body style in Top Doorslammer. In a field that is already well and truly varied, this just adds another dynamic, another different flavour.
And we're sort of getting those classic-style bodies, and then you go towards what Russell Taylor is running, and now Jeremy Callahan and stuff like that. So there is definitely some fluctuation in the body stylings, but I love that about it. Steve Carlson is about to roll out in that Yeehaw Falcon. The boys and girls have been really enjoying their time here in Australia, and it's so cool to see them running with us up here. He has run a 599 in Pro Mod trim. I said, no, you can't count that as a door slammer. He's like, I've run the fives. I'm like, but...
You got to do it in Doorslammer.
Yeah, exactly right.
You've got to do it in Doorslammer. And he's going to be taking on, just a little bit of a task. Russell Taylor, championship leader, reigning champion. He's won 4 out of the 6 events that we've had so far this season. It's as close to dominance as you will see in Top Doorslammer, isn't it?
Yeah, look, absolutely. And incredible to think that he's done it, rookie season and then backed it up in his second season, and currently looks like he's really going to get the job done here and try and wrap up the championship. He was dominant here last year, clean swept it, and ran a 5:59 with a 2. Basically, it was a national record at the time, that 5:59 with a 2, and Zap only the last round ran a 5:59 with a 1. So there is a lot of atmosphere between the Zappia Monaro and the OGL beautifully turned out SS of Russell Taylor. And these days, Steve Hamby always does that out of my way, Dopey, Crocodile Dundee kind of thing. And between him and Stu Rowland, they've had a really cool 2-prong attack. We wait for Carlson.
Very well balanced team, isn't it? When you look at it, they've got the driver, they've got the brains trust with Steve Ham and Mr. Rowland. They've just got it all together at the moment, and it shows in the results over the last 2 years.
Well, they've got 741 points right now. The only one that realistically can catch him is Lisa, and that is so dependent on what happens this weekend. Russell has made no secret of it. He's not going to go to Darwin unless something changes. So he wants to wrap this whole thing up this weekend. Wait for Carlson to come in. That 5:59 with a 1 is the record that John Zappia has. Russell has a 5:59 with a 2. They ran 0.3 of a second outside each other in Sydney, 0.2 of a second outside each other in Pro Camp, qualifying back to the Nitro Champs. So there's an amazing rivalry between them. Carlson brings the Falcon Sprint in. I like it with OGL. Trouble for Russell, not so much for Carlson. He will rip all the way home at 6:29. Now, I got to tell you, don't be too bothered by what just happened with Russell.
Yeah.
It's very rare in the first round he rips a number. Yeah. He's just, something about the way he likes to work his way in. We've seen it many times before. We go, hang on, that's not ideal. And he'll come out and just smoke a second one in Crow Cam's qualifying.
Look, I didn't have that one on my bingo card, I'm going to be honest. A 29-second run for Russell Taylor after Q1. But that being said, Steve Carlson, it was a 6:29. We know the car can go a lot quicker than that, but what got my attention was the short time. Well and truly under 1 second to the 60-foot time there. So Steve Carlson is there or thereabouts in terms of the setup on that thing. They just got to put it all together and get it across the stripe. Now, we've had 7 cars down the racetrack in Top Doorslammer so far. That means we've still got a stack more to go. I can see Rob Harrington lining up down there for his annual appearance in Top Doorslammer, coming out for another bit of a play. And this time around, he's going to be taking on Lisa Gregorini, who, let's be honest, she's having a career best year, second in the points, and she is doing a phenomenal job.
Rusty, I think she's probably one of the best stories in Australian motor racing, to be honest, not just drag racing, for what she's doing for girls in drag racing. And to that point, around about 7:30 tonight, Rusty, when we finish all the competition, All of the ladies or the women in drag racing are to gather on the start line for a big photo, a big group photo tonight.
Very
So
cool.
And speaking of which, there goes the lovely Julie Reed, just wandering by our commentary box. One of the incredible women behind the scenes in drag racing as well. So Lisa currently sits second in the championship. She's got a neat little buffer over John Zapier. She made it to the A final at the Nitro Champs, but had problems with seeing the tree. Just a line at the pillar with the blower. Sometimes it's not always easy just to see that green light situation. So she was held up a little bit. Not that I'm sure that she could have got the job done with Russell. He was on a mission and pretty well dominated the Nitro Champs. But Lisa, remember, she came into this deal last year safely inside the top 4. In her rookie season, you had rookie Russell Taylor win the championship. Rookie Ronnie Palumbo run the top 3. Lisa inside the top 4. So we had 3 rookies. Now we've got some guy called Brody Zapier.
It was a changing of the guard last season in top Doorslammer, and we've seen it over the last probably 5 or 6 years. You know, when we saw Paul Mahey come in, really give it to John Zapier and give him someone that he could compete with. And I think a few other racers have sort of looked at that and gone, you know what, I reckon we can do that as well. So that's why we're seeing so many new names coming into the sport. And what they realise is that if they do the work, they do the preparation, you can be competitive in this category. You get the right people around you, you get the right parts around you. You can be competitive in this category.
Now that she's in the car and she can't hear me, she's very nervous. She spoke to me earlier on. She's really feeling it, all the feels about this event and the situation that she's in. And now that elimination concept has changed the game. The all-run format has given us a little bit of a buffer. I think if we're being fair about that, where you're not as much brutal pressure that you're on the trailer. But this is an opportunity for Lisa in that neuromuscular WA signage down the side. A beautiful tribute to a little young man that passed away just a couple of weeks ago through complications with neuromuscular side of things. And little Dex, both Lisa and Daniel are doing it for Dex this weekend, donating 50% of their merch profits this weekend. They've got a couple of little collection jars as well. And we bring Rob Harrington in. Apparently there was no Fords available that day. His dad is still running the Commodore.
Yep.
Incredible family, this one.
You will never see the chin driving anything else. He's one of the true characters of Australian drag racing, and he's got a long career ahead of him as well because he is charismatic. He's the kind of guy that you love to put him in front of the camera. A lot of the time he cries, but we'll let that one through to the keeper.
As long as he stays away from power lines, which is not a good thing because that's what he does. All right, Lisa, up against Rob Harrington. We're still in Group 1 of Crow Camps Australia qualifying. Lisa carried the front wheels and had to lift. Rob Harrington, that looked pretty tasty. 585, that is going to do the job for him. Lisa definitely had to lift. That car drove to the centre line and she had to lift.
I'd be really curious to have a look at this because I think Lisa Gregorini, I think something actually broke on the car because the pipes went very, very wet on this side of the car. So be curious to have a look at the replay there. The car left beautifully. It was really, really stout and left with the front wheels up as it did for Rob Harrington. But he slots into the number 2 qualifying list in the Bad Influence 2 Doorslammer, and a 585 with a 5 is a very, very solid run for Rob Harrington.
Now, no disrespect intended, but Lovering, Harrington and Dixon are currently our top 3 qualifiers.
Again, didn't have that one on my bingo card either. That is quite a top 3, but we've still got a few more guys left to come, you know. A little guy called, have you heard of this guy, John Zapier?
Nah.
No.
Apparently he'd be good one day.
One day. As he comes through the burnout box at a million miles an hour, the multi-time Australian champion. Is it 11?
Yeah.
11 times Aussie champion.
But it's been like 11 years or something. Got it.
Yeah, it has been a little while. It certainly has been a little while. He's going to take on Mick Marnie this time around, up from Adelaide. Great to see him making the long trek up.
Just watching the Marnie team picking bits and pieces up off the ground in that left-hand lane. Hope that's okay. Sweet looking Shelby.
Yeah.
Now Zap has to win this weekend to even be remotely in with a chance.
Yeah.
Denani Hot Shots, Books, Crow Cams, Monaro celebrates, can you believe in September, 20 years since the first 5-second run. The Dino's Crane Cash went the way of one John Zappia. That's been long since spent.
I remember that. I used to be a young guy when that happened. There was a lot of talk about who was going to get the first 5. It was John Zappia, and he hasn't rested on his laurels over the years. He has taken that bar and lowered it, or raised it, depending on which way you're looking at it. But either way, and now he's got this whole contingent of young guys and girls coming through the sport. You know, even his own family's after him. Brody Zappia doing a great job this season.
And Brody managed to lower his ET, finally get away from the 584s that he's been so consistent with, and got into the 7th finally. But we know Zapp can run a 558. That's happened a while ago. But a 559 with a 1 is the most recent national record and track record at Sydney Dragway. So, waiting on Marnie from Brahma Lodge in South Australia. They're still trying to get their head around this car. Zapp. Pretty handy. What's Mr. Zappia got for us this time? Yeah, that'll do it. Let's go to number 1, shall we? 567 for John Zappia. Put your hands together for the West Australian legend. 11 times number 1.
That is a stout pass off the trailer. 567, 251. Mick Marnie not too far away either. 640 was out of it early, only 172 miles per hour. Had the chutes out. Was a long way out of the groove though. Got really, really close to the wall down there, and you can see he just coasted across the line. Probably shut it off not far after half track. But a 567 at 251. That's the kind of form we expect to see from John Zappia. And here's the thing, right, about John Zappia. He has got probably more experience than anyone else in this field racing in the elimination format, which is very different for a lot of these new guys. They haven't done it. They haven't got that experience. So that could come into play come race day.
Morris Fabietti standing in the left-hand lane. It tells me that one R. Palumbo, who actually grudge raced against Craig Lowndes and Jared Hughes here in Corvettes 2 nights ago. And Emilio Spinozzi makes a very, very good cup of coffee, as you would expect. Anytime you got a vowel at the end of your name. Woo! Emilio, nice skid in the Chevelle.
That is a lot of RPM on board for Emilio Spinozzi. Started his burnout very, very late as well. Was watching Michael Marriott out there, and he didn't really give him the signal till about a car length before the start line. The professor. He loves to play noughts and crosses on the start line.
Doesn't he also just love his starter download? Now, Ronnie Palumbo, a bit of an emotional weekend for him. His final time with the AC Delco Old Betsy with Morris and Mary Fabietti. Unsure as to what he's doing after this. Then we have one more round of the championship too in Darwin. And you notice too that Jeff Cuttajar helping his longtime buddy Morris Fabietti. 20 years they've been supported by GM. And I vividly remember the Holden Genuine Parts backing of the Monaro back in Sydney Dragway for Morris Fabietti.
It's very, very cool to see, and it's a testament to Morris and Mary and everything that they've built with this team over the years. It's great to see Chris Payne from Chevrolet Racing here this weekend as well, who has been a long-time supporter of Morris and Mary. So great to see that support coming from AC Delco and Holden Certified Service. A lot of sponsors on board. Ronnie Palumbo taking, well, they're almost neighbours, these guys. Emilio Spinozzi from Luddenham just drive 1,000 Ks up the road to go racing.
Ronnie looks good. So does Spinozzi. He left a little later, but it looks pretty handy. A 77 with a 4 for Ronnie Palumbo, and an 88, a 588 for Emilio Spinozzi, and that should take Ronnie Palumbo to number 2 in your Crow Cams qualifying. Please put your hands together for Sydney's Ronnie Palumbo in Old Betsy. That'll keep the Holden and Chevy fans happy.
Yeah, absolutely. 577, that's a solid pass. Emilio sounded like he might have been slapping the throttle once or twice down there trying to get it to hook up.
He left late, but she boogied.
Yeah, it went moving when it was down there, but 588, I thought it might have been a little bit quicker than that, but either way, he's still in top half of the field at the moment in the number 5 spot. We'll recap the top half of the field as it stands at the moment because we've still got more cars left to come. John Zappia, number 1 with a 567. Ronnie Palumbo, number 2. Peter Lovering in number 3 with that 583. Rob Harrington in 4th. Emilio Spinozzi in 5. Nigel Dixon, our Kiwi friend, in number 6 with Jeremy Callahan and Steve Carlson, another Kiwi, rounding out the top 8.
Brody Zappia.
More cars coming our way in what is the biggest Doorslammer field we've had for a long, long time.
16 cars, Russ Pavey, the line to line. Corvette was a little loose in that right-hand lane. Sun setting over the top.
And right now is about the time where the sun starts to come into play. It's when you're in the left-hand lane here at the Winternationals at this time of year, you're sitting in the stage beams, you're looking at the Christmas tree, and that sun is blazing straight in your face.
Good.
It
what
is,
you want.
Yeah, it's exactly what you want when you're trying to stage a 4,000 horsepower Doorslammer, put it down the racetrack. In the meantime, though, Russell Pavey, he's one of the nicest guys in Australian drag racing. Just such a gentleman, loves drag racing, comes out, not out every single event that we have, but comes out a couple of times a year, and he's always a threat. He can put this thing deep into the fives.
Very much involved in the movie industry as Russ, and has got a lot of help from the Brave family here this weekend as well. So Brody, first time for him at the Winters in Doorslammer trim. He, of course, won the Western Nationals on debut. He's got a bit of this sort of stuff in his DNA. JK Construction, Max Plant, Summit, Monaro. This car has some pretty spectacular history at this place as well. It looked very different after its appearance here many years back. The line-to-line coatings entry of Russ Pavey coming in. These will be your 15th cars that we've seen so far. Brody, can he run into the 5.7? He had to go to the center line, but he brought it back. See, Pavey looks smooth.
Yeah, he is.
5.96 for Russ Pavey and a 5.81 for Brody. He had to just drive that thing off the center line. Pavey looks sweet there.
Absolutely. 584 for Brody. That was bouncing that car down the racetrack. It didn't really touch down the front end too nicely. It was definitely bouncing him around. But a 596 for Russell Pavey, I think that's his first run in competition for a long time. So he will actually get into the top half of the field with that one. Brody Zapier moves to 4. Russell Pavey goes to 8. And we have now got 8 cars in the 5-second zone, and a whole bunch of guys who can go a lot quicker. Russell Taylor currently at the bottom of the list in number 15 with a 29-second pass. I wouldn't rely on him to stay there, but that being said, we've only got one more round of qualifying, so the pressure is going to be on guys like Russell Taylor and Daniel Gregorini, who didn't even get down the racetrack that time.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Boy, it's going to be a busy day. No doubt about that. That's for these guys to turn this thing around for tomorrow. So John Zapier, currently your number 1 qualifier for Crow Cams Australia. It's $1,000. You get to put it in the skyrocket when you get it done, but he's got one more round of that to do. Ronnie Palumbo, stout, 577 with a 4. Pete Lovering, a 583. Good job for the shoebox boys. Brody Zapier, straight into the top 5, 584. Rob Harrington, how good, 585 for the Monaro. Emilio Spinozzi, a 588. How about that? 2 Monaros in the top 5.
Yeah.
Both of them about the same vintage.
Rock and roll.
About 2005 or thereabouts. Jeremy Callahan, Russ Pavey, Nigel Dixon, and Stevie Carlson are inside the top 10 right now.
Yeah, it's incredible to look at that qualifying list. There's 6 cars in the 580s or quicker. That's stout.
Well, if you think back to our run at the Nitro Champs, every car in the field except Pete Kapiris was in the 5s.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been, and when you think about it with Top Fuel, every car was in the 3s at Nitro Champs. So we've really got some momentum that is absolutely building as we prepare very soon for X-Pro Nitro Funny Cars coming up in a moment.
It just feels like the gap between the guys who are really at the pointy end of the field and the guys who are sort of just finding their way, that's really starting to tighten up now across the board in all of our categories. But that does round out Top Doorslammer, and we are going to move, as you said, into the X-Pro by Aeroflow Nitro Funny Car. And, well, we've got some good racing coming your way tonight. Nitro categories in the not-too-distant future, and we've also got Pro Alcohol coming up. And, of course, Top Fuel Motorcycles. So still plenty more professional racing left to come here. These qualifying sessions at the Winter Nats, they are always a marathon, but, man, we wouldn't have it any other way.
I love that. You got Bruce Reed just down there chatting with Gareth Rogers. It's all black and yellow, but in very different codes. It's a very interesting concept. Kelsey Walford lay down there. Good to have Kelsey back. She, of course, has missed the last couple of rounds because she's been a mum now. So she's important.
More important things to do.
Her Gascal stuff is selling like crazy.
I want one of those pink cowboy hats, all right? So if you're down there and you want to grab me one.
You would look so good in a pink cowboy hat.
Rock and roll.
So good in a pink cowboy hat.
I'll wear free merch from anybody.
Oh, so it's got to be free. Just to establish it's got to be free. Okay, I get that. So championship-wise, it was all the way Josh Lay, who started off with an absolute rocket star performance at dragway at the bend. And then, well, the Kiwi kind of got fed up with that. He came out of nowhere and hat-tricked the last 3 rounds. But we missed Justin Walsh out of the equation. He had influenza A or something like that. It was a very bad case of the man flu. I think we know Justin will admit that.
I'm going to leave that one alone.
We had Tommy Johnson Jr. super sub in for him, but it was still Morris McMillan who got the job done. Now there's a very promising rookie out of Mackay in North Queensland, Damon Payton.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job, Rusty.
He absolutely is. He's impressed me a lot because you look at it, these Nitro Funny cars, they are probably one of the most daunting cars to jump into. It's not like you're out in the open and they're very claustrophobic. They pull the body down over the top of you. They are an absolute animal of a thing to get from the start line to the finish line in good fashion.
Around a third of the wheelbase of a top fuel car. When you look at it, the same engine.
All the horsepower.
11,000 of them. So it's the same, basically the same engine that we're running in top fuel, but with a third of the wheelbase, which means twitchy. It means angry. It means antisocial.
Yeah, and it means it will teach you who's boss. You really have to tell these things where you want them to go. You don't ask them, you have to tell them where you want them to go, and you almost need to be ahead of them because they will bite you very, very quickly. And, you know, Josh Lay, he'll testify to that after what we saw in Sydney at his first ever race. You know, it got away from him a little bit at the top end of the racetrack and very nearly had a big moment with Morris McMillan. But fortunately, all is well that ends well. And, you know, Josh learned from that. He learned, man, you got to stay on top of these things. They will bite you. But I believe we've just got a little bit of track prep going on. I think the tractor might have rolled off now, and hopefully we can get these things fired up and put them in the beams because as we get towards the night here at the first qualifying session for these guys, we'll start to see some header flames.
Yes. Candles.
Yeah.
Nothing more romantic than candles on a Winter Nationals weekend. It means it's a very, very different thing to normal people. So Justin Simpson doing a great job down there with the racetrack. Andy Kasos as part of the NDRC and also Willowbank Raceway. And throw in Jason Hedges as well. Everybody in the black shirts. We get ready to fire up Damon Payton and Josh Lay. Josh second in the championship. Payton, the rookie. We were talking about him earlier on. Certainly got some good people around him. When you come into this situation, it's not like you're just thrown into the shark. It's like you've got so much experience. Josh about to hit it. Has run twice into the 399 and a 398. The guy alongside him, Damon Payton, has been close with 4-1, but never actually been to 3-bill.
There is a violence to these cars here at Willowbank that you don't appreciate anywhere else. Our location in the commentary box is right alongside the start line, and these cars, let me tell you, they feel different here at Willowbank. They are so much louder. They will rattle your teeth. It is such an experience to watch these cars at this storied venue. So, Damon Payton, the X-Pro by Aeroflow, Extreme Ignition Products. Toyota Camry taking on Josh Lay, two of the real young guns of Australian professional drag racing. Josh Lay, one of the most remarkable people you will find in motorsport, full stop. A bit
like his wife.
Yeah.
They're both third generation in their passion for drag racing, Rusty. Rocket and X-Pro in both lanes. GC will be loving this along with Wendy, I'm sure. A couple of very talented tuners on the game here as well. Brody Pilkington and Gareth Rogers.
And Damon Payton actually, the team pushed him into stage there. They actually just had to pull the car back to check the wheelie bar because technically you're not allowed to touch the car once it is in full stage. But the crew chiefs look across to each other. Girth says, off you go. It's all on you now. And we are almost set for a start in Nitro Funny Car.
Lay shoots out early for Lay, but Payton is monster trucking. Now, 4-1-2 is a good way to kick things off. Please put your hands together for Mackay, Queenslander, Damon Payton. He runs a 4-1. Shoots were out very early.
Yeah, he shut that thing off early, 272 miles per hour. He was out of the throttle way before the finish line there. Josh Lay's chute came out right at the head of the throttle for him.
It did kind of lift up a little too, you know.
And it was something that we saw from Maurice McMillan earlier in the season in the sister car down in Adelaide. We saw it happen repeatedly. So hopefully it's just the case of maybe the chute cable being a little bit too short and it shook out at the hit. But either way...
What are you suggesting there's vibration going on, is it?
Just a little.
Is that what you're saying?
Just a little. I don't know if you've noticed it.
Wow. It's incredible to think that everything stays in place the way it should with these cars.
Including the driver's sanity.
Now, we're not going to have Adam Murray here today,
No.
unfortunately. Sanity? Walsh is in the lineup now.
I'm glad you caught on to that.
That's why you said that. So Adam Murray, he was actually going to be here racing to be the 5th car, but unfortunately, a motocross accident, a dirt bike incident, a couple of, 2 or 3 months ago now, banged him up pretty bad with his collarbone.
Yep.
And he was hoping to get clearance to drive here. Got the car here. Brett Emer is, of course, here to get the whole thing ready. And they can't get clearance to run. So he's hoping to be all good for the Nitro Nationals in Sydney on the 23rd of August, the grand final.
There was a lot of, when I was talking to him earlier on, there was a lot of disappointment in his voice. He really wanted to go racing because he understands what the Winter Nationals is all about.
Yeah,
he
for
understands that this is a huge event, the granddaddy of Australian drag racing, this one. And he would love nothing more than to be out there. But, you know, seeing that he will be back in Sydney, that's a little bit of a consolation at least.
I wonder whether we'll see Justin Walsh do the worm. Do a bit of breakdancing at the end of this round like he did at the Winters last year when he wrapped up the championship. The boosted bright red Mustang of Maurice McMillan and Justin Walsh. They dropped the body down. And this guy's had a tough season compared to last year where he was the Australian champion. Exalted paints, hard paint supplies. What a character. He's camping here at the track with Mrs. Duff in the caravan.
Yeah, I saw the Facebook post. He's
Great nomad.
he's just about at that age now, isn't he? Justin Walsh.
And you said that.
Yep.
I'll go with that.
So-
He's never been into the threes yet, Rusty. And the guy alongside him ran the quickest time here ever, a 3:94. So Maurice McMillan knows, although we call it the Perth Morris Flex, because he was dominant over there in WA last year.
If you would have asked me if he'd been in the threes, I would have almost bet the farm on it.
Yeah.
But he's been there or thereabouts. Consistency was what won him the championship last season. It wasn't necessarily about outright pace. This season, it's been a bit of a different story. I think he'd love a bit of that outright pace right about now, out of the championship equation. But that being said, if you can take home the gold Christmas tree at the Winter Nationals, that's a pretty nice consolation, Ed.
Absolutely. But they'll take anything at this point, won't they? This is qualifying for the X-Pro Nitro Funny Cars. The Hard Paint Supplies team in and ready to go. I didn't get a chance to check out Spud's tent earlier. I was busy looking at data and stuff. What's happened to me? A couple of really cool looking hot rods. And we're about to get after it. Number one qualifier so far, Damon Payton. Wouldn't he love to be number one at the end of this session? Boy, the tyre shake on Walsh. Look at McMillan. There we go. Wow.
That's a race. Only one shoot, though, for Maurice McMillan. Only one shootout down there. Hopefully you can get that thing stopped. 4:06 to a 3:99. They go to 1 and 2 in the qualifying list. Justin Walsh, how's that for not keeping it nice and neat? 300.00 miles per hour.
How about poor old Justin Walsh? He is so close to a 3, you can almost taste it. And the boys are like, come on, Walshy. Can't you give us the 3? A 4:06 for Justin Walsh and a 3:99. But the tyre shake from Walsh, that thing was far from a pretty ride.
Yeah, he drove through it pretty well there. A lot of the time, you're forced to get out of the throttle with these cars when they shake that badly. Pretty surprising that either didn't kick the tyres loose there or go into full-blown smoke.
I was expecting him to lift and drop out of it and go, no, we'll get this next time. But, mate, he was in it and absolutely committed. What a character. No doubt about that. When you speak to him and McMillan, you've got to speak Gold Coast and Kiwi. And it's this really strange sort of morphosis of language. It's a very difficult thing to understand, Rusty.
Oh, you got all
Yeah,
the
look
you got
at
all
the
the
Spud man.
sayings.
He's up and about.
Yeah, Spud's pumping down there.
Oh, we're actually featuring him on the TV show this weekend.
Oh,
We've
really?
actually had a sit down and,
How did you nail him down for long enough?
well, I didn't give him a choice.
Right. Just strapped him down with a couple of ratchet straps and hold him in place. We're going to be going racing with some more Nitro. It is Top Fuel coming your way. And the question on everyone's lips this weekend has been, how quick can these guys go? We saw 360s everywhere down in Sydney.
Yeah.
It was incredible. But the question is, can they go even quicker here? Weather conditions pretty good. Track conditions always very good here at the Winter Nationals.
And great to have Kyle Putland here, the West Aussie, and the Hydraulic Technical Solutions. Silicon. Bit of a late burnout too for Damien Harris, but this is going to be a tasty matchup.
Absolutely it is.
Anytime you go side by side in field, you know something cool is about to happen.
Now, Damien Harris, I reckon they are swinging through here. Looking at that rear wing, it is laid back about as far as it can go. They've got this thing flat down. They want to go quick in this session. I think Kyle Putland, he'd be happy to knock out another 3-second pass. Got one down in Adelaide, and that was a fantastic run for him. I think this is his first visit to Willowbank in Top Fuel, so again, a little bit of a learning curve for him.
Won a B final in Perth. They have really been the team that will keep you honest. The old politicians keeping the B, etc. honest. That's what this team has been like.
They're very nice people.
Correct. Wayne, the interesting part about what Damien Harris has been doing, he ran that 368 at the bend and then backed it up in Sydney. It was quite incredible. We started off thinking the 379 was quick, then we got to a 376, then we went to a 374, then a 372 with Phil, and Harris went, you know what, this 70 stuff bores me, let's go to the 60s, bit of free love.
Kyle Putland really, he didn't get the signal from his crew. Oh, he's in reverse down there.
Wow, so Rory had to run forward, giving the signal.
Now that's not good, because these cars, they are very finely timed.
Oh, massive.
On a run, and a 375 at 296. Looks like it went away a little bit at the other end of the racetrack. And a 375 is a very solid pass.
I love the way we go. 375.
Yeah, 12 months ago, that would have been an incredible pass. But I've got a feeling, just because of how long the car was sitting there idling, I'm just wondering whether it might have run a little bit short on fuel at the other end of the racetrack. Kyle Putland, I think there was a bit of a miscommunication down there as to putting him in stage, and then when he went to go in stage, the car was in reverse. It was a very weird one.
And nobody wants to do that. Come on, Willowbank, put your hands together for Damien Harris. He runs a 375. Thank you very much. Just a lick outside the 300 mile per hour barrier, but it was a good start. And the rappers will be up and about. But Wayne Newby, he's in a situation here. We have one more round after this, the Sydney Nitro Nationals. And Newbs has got one hand on the Stan Sainty Cup. It's an award that's very, very dear to his heart. And he would love to wrap this up. Remember last year, it was all Damien Harris.
Yeah, it was. It was, and it's wide open this year now. Newby, he'd love to take home another championship. He is a former Australian champion in Top Fuel in his own right, but he would love to take home another championship. And the main thing that he loves to do, he loves bringing him home to Santo. You know, if you're the guy that can hand that championship trophy across to Santo, there's nothing that puts a smile on these drivers more.
Well, remember the photos that they had last year in presentations, because they had the Winters and they had the Top Fuel Australia Championship. So that is absolutely. You know, the guy that we want to really see rip here as well is Phil Lamartina. And Phil in that Fuchs moving your world. Top Fuel Dragster in the right-hand lane. And Felipe, Phil Reed alongside him in the left-hand lane. They were buzzing, remember, with that 372 back at the bend. It really lit a fire under them. Bruce Reed, he believes they can run in the 360s as well. He's like, we're programmed to do that as well. The Rappers did it. Good luck to them, but we're going to come along with it. It's been a rising tide. And Phil, in the 3.9s or thereabouts, we're at the Nitro Champs, and I know that his determination and this team, and I know that Dean Rossiter really wants a big number for this team as well.
Absolutely. Phil Lamartina and this entire team, they're not ones that you can ever count out. I'll tell you right now, these guys have got a lot of experience. They've been racing Nitro for a long, long time, and they'll get this thing sorted out. And, you know, it wasn't that long ago, 390s or 380s was a very stout run in Australian top fuel racing. But in the last 12 months, the bar has just been, or the ante has been upped. You know, 370s no longer cut at 360s are what these guys are looking for, swinging for the fences just about every time they roll out. And, well, what can be delivered here? We've got the fire-up signal going, so...
Hedgie loves it, doesn't he? Does the old
he loves it.
Yeah, I was noticing that too.
He loves the 12 fingers.
Absolutely. If this is your first time seeing Top Fuel, it's something you'll talk about for years. Regardless of the ETs, there's just something about the way that Nitro rotates the planet on its axis, as Darren Morgan always says. The Lammers are fired. The Black Mamba is fired. Mad Dog runs down to signal the burnout. Ross Lamartina waiting for Dad as well. And further down, Sarah about to climb over the wall, and also Curtis Reed on the other side. Bit of a height difference between Sarah and Curtis Reed.
Just a touch.
Doesn't mean that Sarah doesn't have cooler shoes. Bill, business-like burnout from the Fuchs. Lamartina, Top Fuel Racing entry. And now, Bill, and that thing, we've heard that before.
Yes, we have. I was about to say that. We heard them have problems with the throttle stop in the burnout down in Adelaide.
And here.
And here.
So
that's it's a strange one. There's no real rhyme or reason, but don't forget, when they had those problems down in Adelaide, they went out and reset the Australian record. So maybe it's good omen. Who knows?
I'm all about the good omens, Rusty, like you are. Good to see you here, mate. Mark, you too. It's so cool to be at the Winters. What an event. When you ride around the pits, you can get lost. You need a GPS to get around the pits here. There's so many teams.
Can you feel the vibe? It's about the vibe.
Wow. That photocopier. We're going to roll back to the castle. So we have 3 cars to run. Lamartina on that right-hand lane. Bruce Reed, as he's done so many times, standing next to his brother. Looks over at Dean Rossiter, the new face of tuning. Much younger man than some of the guys he's been tuning against. Having said that, Junior and Santino aren't exactly getting on, are they? Time to go! Oh, Phil Reed! How about the drive job from Phil Reed? Whoa!
That was wild. 387 for
Good
Phil
for
Lamartina.
Phil.
That's a nice bounce back. Looked like it was really late on the chutes down there. I think he's got it just about stopped, or is he taking the long road?
How about the drive job from Phil Reed? That thing was all twisted up.
That was about as sideways as you'll see a top fuel car. It shook the tyres hard, went up into tyre smoke, and Phil, being the consummate professional that he is, he had it under control. He knows where the line is, but yeah, that was pretty close to it. That was way sideways for a dragster.
Just looking at Bruce Reed standing down and just watching the guys on the mop down there at that line.
He wants to see the replay. I know what he's standing there waiting for. He wants to have a look at just how sideways that got.
It really did get a bit twisted up, didn't it? Please put your hands together for the Jim Reed Racing team as they head down that left-hand lane, everybody. And well done, the Lamartinas. That's better.
Here's a replay.
This is what, as you said, Bruce is trying to work out just what happened there.
Yeah, it just shook and then went up into spin. But 387, that's a solid pass for the Lamartina team there. 320 miles per hour, good speed as well. Was right across the finish line.
Julie was just pinching a shot there as well off the screen, getting a bit of stuff for the social media. She's looking for that shot again and that nice sunset, Jules. Don't forget that pretty sunset. We're all about the pretty sunsets.
Okay, Matt Nolte.
Jim and Denise, wow. Jim and Denise Reed are here, of course. And I did catch up with Gary Phillips earlier today as well, because Jim Reed threw a huge bouquet at Gary Phillips, through me at the Riverbend Naturals. He said, we talk a lot about what I've done. How about what Gary Phillips has done? Mm-hmm. And tomorrow, we're going to be joined by some bloke who used to do some pretty good skids in Doorslammer.
Yeah?
If he's allowed in the place.
If he's allowed.
I thought they would just fly him in. But anyway, Victor Bray tomorrow.
Helicopter him in.
He doesn't like helicopters. Time. I've been down that route with him before in the burnout days. We flew him in a helicopter in Newcastle, and he sugar honey iced tea'd himself. Now, you would think nothing would scare Victor. I got to tell you that airborne food processors do. Mario is down there waiting for his good mate Wayne Newby here.
So we've just had
Sun
word
delay?
that, Lamartina actually went down past the last turn-off. So didn't quite get to the sand, but he did go long down there with that. I think it was only one chute came out having a look at it. It's hard to see on the monitor that we've got here, but I think it was only one chute came out, and it was pretty late in the piece. So just going to go down and retrieve Phil from the top end of the racetrack.
So Wayne Newby, let's talk about this guy. What a situation he's in right now. Leading the championship. You know, the cool part is that when Damien Harris ran that incredible 368, the bloke in the lane next to him was Wayne Newby, who also ran a PB. Got into the 373, a PB for him. And then you threw in, Damien ran a 372 as well that weekend, just to nudge Phil out of that top two altogether. I said to Phil, Harris took your number 2 spot. He goes, mate, no one remembers who ran second quickest.
Yeah, if they can't win, they don't want it.
Well played. So Noobs is all about it, and he can win the Winters, he can win the championship, but he's going to have to wait to do it in Sydney, I would think. Quite funny with Damien. I said, we got an extra round. He goes, yes, and we're going to do another round and another round and another round until I win.
Well, at the moment, Newby's lead is 80 points in this championship. 80 points.
Not enough.
It's not enough to say, yep, I've got it. I've got the trophy. But at the same time, you'd rather be 80 points in front than 80 points behind.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're talking about Damien Harris, it's all relative as well, because you could be a day behind that guy, and he's never, ever going to give up. This Atlantic Oils, Santos Cranes entry, the Wild Ink team. Have you seen their merch stand? Wow, the Rappers have got a killer merch stand as well with the Wild Ink group, and there's some really cool new designs. That's actually Mario. I think the Road King is what Phil Reed calls Mario, standing down there on the start line. Yeah,
I like it.
There's the Road Captain and the Road King. The Road Captain, I think, is Baldy, and the Road King is Mario. As you know, I spent 3 days driving across Australia to the west with all the guys in their teams, and I can't say enough about the teams that travel, you know, from here to the west and from the west back across, because it's a big, big haul.
Oh, it's a very, very long way. The commitment to do what they do, crisscrossing the country, and you know, even going from where most of these teams are based in you know, New South Wales, some in Queensland, going down to Adelaide is a pretty big drive as well. To take all the parts, the pieces, the crews, everything that you need to go racing. It's a massive, massive commitment. Now, I'm just looking at it. I think there might be. No, we're going to send it. All right. So I thought we might have a break for the sun, given where it is at the moment, but I think. Newby looking at it, he's got the dark visor on the helmet, and he just wants to go racing. He just wants to put it in the beams and go.
I love this guy.
Yep.
Such a character. So much fun, but deadly serious about the job at hand. His partner, Ali, waiting for him down there as well. She's an absolute crackerjack, is Ali. And this team, they're all about trying to give Noobs a Stan Sainty Cup. And I spoke to Wayne about it yesterday. I said, what would it mean to win the Stan Sainty? And he just burst into tears.
Yeah.
Very, very emotional.
The Newby families and the Sainty families very closely aligned.
Well, his mum and Maggie Sainty are besties.
Yeah.
In fact, he said, my mum taught Maggie Sainty how to drive a car.
It goes back to the boat racing days as well. They used to do drag boat racing, and you know, their histories are intertwined. And when you consider it, I still look at Noobs and I go, you know, he's not an old bloke. He's been racing for over 30 years on asphalt alone.
Well, there's been a lot of talk that he's not here next year.
I have heard that.
Right? And I asked him straight up, what's the go, mate? Are you in or are you not? He said, I'll be back next year.
All right.
So there was some discussion. He thought he was letting the team down. He's had that knee Rico. It really was. See Damien Harris standing down the start line as well in his civvies. He said, I felt like I was letting the Rapper started team down. And I think Santino said, you're not going anywhere. And then Santo said, you're not going nowhere.
No.
And I think when he says that, you don't go, sun beaming down.
Well, it would be brutal, although it's almost down behind the trees now. So hopefully giving a little bit of respite, because where Wayne Newby is sitting, if you line up the cockpit to the Christmas tree to where the sun is, he's basically looking straight into that big ball of orange.
375 is the time to beat. Damien Harris currently owns it. This is your current points leader to the NDRC Top Fuel Championship.
Oh,
it left hard.
That was violent tyre shake, and I think it might have popped something on that, because when he got off the throttle, it went bang. So it sounds like it's still winding down out there, but an 8.16. They were trying to get after that thing. 60-foot time, and I think it was shaking well and truly before then. I think it was 8.48. Was that the number that I saw? 8.43 to the 60-foot. So
Santino had him loaded for bear.
he was going after it, and I think they only missed it by that much, but in Nitro racing, that much is all that it takes. And with that, I think we are going to be moving into some pro alcohol action, which is Wade's cue to jump off the mic, and we're going to welcome back to the mic Mr. Mark Allen. So don't go too far, Wade, because are you jumping on for Top Fuel Motorcycle as well? Or okay, so Wade, we'll see you back tomorrow, and we've still got plenty more professional racing left to come, and a few more sessions as well for our sportsman races in the early stages of eliminations for them. But right now it is pro alcohol coming your way. First matchup is going to be Andrew Searle taking on Wayne Price. So this is a good matchup. Andrew Searle went to the final at the Winternationals in pro alcohol. Very experienced racer in his own right. And welcome back to the microphone, Mark Allen.
It's good to be back, mate. Watching a bit of fuel action. It was exciting. 375. That was killer.
Yeah, pretty stout across the board from all of our categories, and Top Doorslammer also living up to its reputation as well. But right now it is going to be all about pro alcohol, and there's an interesting sort of championship scenario going on in pro alcohol at the moment. Daniel Reid, despite missing the first round of the championship, is currently sitting in the box seat to take home his first ever title. The only person mathematically that can take him down is Chris Hargrave, who's currently 70 points behind. But once you allocate first round loss points in this 8-car field, because everyone is going to qualify, there's 8 cars in the field here this weekend, that mathematically should lock it up for Daniel Reid. But stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. It would require him not to be able to front for the first round of racing, and Chris Hargrave would have to go on to win the event. That's basically the calculation, by my calculations as it stands. But at the same time,
it's been a bit of a weird season in pro alcohol.
It's been a very weird season, and we've got to give credit where credit's due as well. You know, Russell Mills was absolutely outstanding in the early part of the season until his accident down in Adelaide. You then look to who was the incumbent championship leader, which would have been Jake Donnelly. He had his accident down at the last round of the championship down in Sydney. Fortunately, both drivers escaped without injury, and they were A-OK, but couldn't say the same thing for the cars. Now, that then shifted focus across to who was the new championship incumbent, which was Wayne Price. Unfortunately, he was unable to come out for racing, damaged the car beyond repair at the racetrack. So I'm not saying Daniel Reid has lucked his way into it, because he's been incredible in the 2 rounds that we've seen him. But at the same time, it has taken a little bit of misfortune for others for Daniel Reid to be in this position.
First bearing out, Andrew Searle going through the burnout procedure in his funny car, and he's scheduled to take on Wayne Price, who's coming forward now.
Absolutely love this reworked shape. It is a completely revamped shape on this Dodge Charger for Wayne Price. It just looks so sharp. He's going to take on Andrew Searle, who I think is he making his first start in pro alcohol this season? I think we saw him back in Sydney, but he was unable to make it to race day. He made a qualifying pass, I think.
He's got points, so he's got points at the first event in Sydney. Yeah.
That makes sense, but first time that we've seen him on track since November last year, so good to see the Acme Composites International funny car, the Mustang, rolling out to the start line. And again, he was going to surprise everybody that was at last year's Internationals, or 2 years ago.
Yeah, so for Andrew Searle, runner-up in 2023 here at the Gulf Western Oil Winternationals. And it sort of did take everyone by surprise, but it was through consistency.
It was. He went down the racetrack every single time.
B. Qualified in the bottom half of the field and just got his way through the field.
So the question is, how quick can these guys go? There's no threat of missing a field in pro alcohol this weekend. 8 cars on the property, 8 spots in the qualified field. It's just going to be a matter of shaking out, working out who races who come round 1.
I think Andrew's still learning the ins and outs of running a pro alcohol funny car with this setup.
And with this setup is the key word. He'd be very used to running it with the clutch if it had a clutch in it. With this car with the converter setup, very, very different, very unusual in terms of what we've seen from pro alcohol cars in the past. But he's making it work. This car's gone down into the 550s, and it's certainly a very, very stout car on its day. Wayne Price, the more conventional clutch setup in this car. Wayne Price drives through a bunch of tyre shake early in the piece after rolling the beams of 578 at 253. I would say that would probably have been a bit quicker than that, probably somewhere down into the 560s at least.
I would say in 550s.
Yeah,
Take 2/10 off that 60 foot straight away for Wayne Price.
It did roll the beams down there, but it went 119 to the 60 foot time. So again, you take that down to the high 990s, mid 990s, and all of a sudden you're exactly where you say.
Yeah, I think it would have been mid 550s for Wayne Price on that pass. Andrew Searle went straight up into spin on the hit there.
It's impressive that Wayne Price was actually able to drive through the tyre shake. He actually short shifted and to pull through the tyre shake. And fortunately, it was able to get it through there without going up into tyre smoke. But still, 578, it's on the board.
That's it. There's just some adjustments on the clutch for him, and so it doesn't drag through the beams next pass, and it should be a lot quicker for Wayne Price.
Next up, it is a couple of second-generation races. It will be Brittany Olive making her first start in pro alcohol here at Willowbank Raceway, and what a way to do it at the Winternationals. And she's going to be taking on Shane Phillips, part of a 2-car assault on the Winternationals for the Phillips team this weekend. I didn't think that we would see the day where we'd see both of them in the field at the same time, but how cool is it that it's actually happened?
How cool is it that Gary's in the Altered with him?
Oh yeah, the Altered is I think that's quite a few people's favourite car here this weekend.
All right, so we can see Olive has started up her drags, about to move forward. Ran into the 5-second zone at Sydney Dragway.
Yeah, got down into the 570s, the mid to low 570s, which they were over the moon with, absolutely over the moon with. Racing with support from A-Civil. Now let's talk about Shane Phillips, because he didn't go 570s, he got down into the 530s with this funny car. He was only a few hundredths of a second off the national record for pro alcohol funny car, which, get this, I know you'll appreciate this, Mark, the national record for pro alcohol funny car has stood, can you have a guess at how long? Off the top of your head.
For the ET with John Canelli, I'm thinking at least 10 years.
I think it's actually longer. I think it was 2013. I'm going to have to look it up. I've just lost the file on my
I've actually got the record list here, mate, in front of me.
So here it is. So pro alcohol funny car, as it stands, was June 2016. 5:35 with an 8 with John Canelli. So he still has that record going on 9 years ago. That's incredible. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to make a prediction that someone is going to give that a little bit of a look in this weekend. I think it's in danger. What do you reckon?
I think you're on the money, mate. I think you've just spelled it out. For pro
I'm not saying who it's going to be, so then they can't blame me for the commentators first if it doesn't happen.
I think, Shane Phillips, Daniel Reid, your money would be on those two.
Yeah. I think Shane knocked out a 5:39 down in Sydney. I think it was a 5:38 for Daniel Reid. Shane actually took home the into the speed record as well, broke the speed record that Daniel reset down in Adelaide the event before.
Yeah, Shane went 5:38.
Okay, so it's either way, we got a race on our hands.
And he reset the speed record. You're right there.
All right, both cars just about set for a start. Olive and Phillips. 9.42 to the 60 for Shane Phillips. This is on a number 543, 271.3 miles per hour. It was on a number from the get-go. 9.42 to the short time is 3.62 to half track. And man, Shane Phillips makes a statement in Q1 here at the Gulf Western Oil Winternationals.
Yeah, that was a really good clean run there for Shane Phillips. I thought it was actually going to be quicker than the 43. I was thinking low 40, maybe even to like high 39.
Well, he went across the stripe under power, 271 miles per hour.
So it's a mile an hour off his speed record.
That's a full pull under every definition of it. So we have a look at that beautiful sunset here at Willowbank. in the middle of the pro alcohol session. This is what it's all about. The Winter Nationals. It's got such history. You can just feel the vibe, feel the serenity in this place when you're walking around it. And to be racing here yet again, it is so cool. And we will see our next pair rolling up to the line. It is going to be championship contender Daniel Reid, the All-Star Batteries AC Delco Monte Carlo. He's got one hand on the trophy. I dare say he's got 1.5 hands on the trophy. He just hasn't picked it up yet. I
asked Daniel what if they'd done anything to the funny car, like trying to look at things with it. He's like, oh, we got new front wheels. We got new front wheels.
Making the big changes.
Making the big changes. But, you know, when something is working right, you don't change it.
No, do not touch it. Don't touch that dial. Don't go anywhere. That's for sure. He's going to be taking on Gary Phillips.
Yeah, they look nice, those front wheels from Sanders Engineering.
This is just another chapter of the Reid-Phillips rivalry, isn't it, over the years? There's been so much written about these teams. There's been so much said about it. We had a new chapter down in Sydney when we had Daniel Reid taking on Shane Phillips. It was the first time those guys had matched up the second and third generation races, respectively. But I think Daniel Reid, he'd be pretty stoked at the moment that he gets to race his dad's old advisory, Gary Phillips, here in qualifying.
Yeah, so I was talking to Shane about the altered for Gary. So they've really worked on the aerodynamics for the altered, trying to keep the front end down. They've got some new headers from JPRE on the car as well. They're just really trying to focus on getting the car nice and straight, flat, no wheel stands. And they've shown some really promising signs as well on the altered. It went 5:49 in really bad condition. Yeah, which obviously is the quickest altered in the world as well. And we can see a spectator on the start line that you're probably just seen as well, Russ.
That's what I was going to say. And I think he's actually casting his eye over things down there. Justin Walsh, who did have the record, I think still does have the record in terms of competition with a 5:54 of the quickest altered. But he's casting his eye over things, just making sure that they're not short on crew, I think, with Shane Phillips racing here this weekend as well. So Gary's going to go into the beams. Debbie will bring him in. In fact, Debbie's on both sides of the racetrack bringing in their respective drivers. Very, very cool matchup here in qualifying session number 1. The altered, Gary Phillips taking on the funny car, Daniel Reid. The RPMs will come up and these guys are going to leave nothing on the table. Tyre shake on both sides of the racetrack. A couple of pedals and a 579 at 264. That's a solid pass, but Daniel Reid had to have a couple of stabs at it. 6:47, Gary Phillips went away probably at about 800 feet down there, but he'd already had some issues up to that point with tyre shake. So not quite what we would have expected from those guys, but still, nonetheless, it's a number on the board.
Yeah, tail of the tape. Looking at the short times on both sides of the racetrack, Phillips was actually quick. He went 9.51 to the 60-foot, and Reid went 9.55. But as you said, they both had shakes, so that's not really indicative of what they were running.
All of a sudden, it's making that 5:43 from Shane Phillips look very, very impressive.
Yeah,
and it's also making the 5:78 from Wayne Price. It would have been a lot quicker. Look pretty stout as well.
Yeah, exactly. They're getting a hold of these conditions. The tuners doing their job there on their respective vehicles. We've still got another couple of funny cars here in the background,
Yeah,
Rusty.
2 more cars left to come, and it is Chris Hargrave, who I think he'd love to get the championship, but I don't think he's focused on it this weekend. I think the realist in him understands that it's probably going to go through to the keeper. But at the same time, this will be his 3rd consecutive top 3 finish in the championship, which that in itself is a hell of a record in such a competitive field. He's going to be taking on Brett White this time around, the Monte Carlo funny car out of Cambridge Park in New South Wales. Burnouts on both sides of the racetrack. Chris Hargrave racing for Middy's Electrical. And again, we talk about the misfortune that some of the guys have had in pro alcohol this season. There's no racer that has actually done every single round of the championship for various reasons, whether it be accidents, whether it be family commitments, whether it be whatever. And Chris Hargrave is no different. We missed him down in Adelaide. Didn't come down to the bend for round 2 of the championship. Came back in Sydney and obviously is here. And Look, truthfully, it hasn't seemed to matter because it's been such a weird season in Pro Alcohol.
You're right. It's a weird season. You can see the Bosch Professional Tools funny car here of Chris Hargrave just backing up. Has a PB of 5.50 seconds. They've lowered it this season. They're just stepping up on it little bit by little bit. Brett White, they're just one good pass away from just running in the 550. He could run to the 550, Brett White.
Yeah, he absolutely could. Chris Hargrave knocked out a couple of PBs in the last round of the championship as well. I think it was a 550 flat.
Yes.
From memory.
Yep.
I'm not as prepared as you, Mark. I don't have it all written down. I've got it all up top.
550, 263 for Chris.
Yeah, so
PB.
and that shows the speed being up over 260 miles an hour shows that they're starting to get on top of the program. You know, they've got good quality parts and they've got the knowledge to make it all happen.
I think both sides of the racetrack here, they just want consistent quick passes this weekend.
Well, that's a bit of an unusual one for Chris Hargrave, but a 5.70 at 230 miles per hour. That's enough to put Brett White to the number 2 qualifying spot. And
shoots out early for Brett White as well, so that's a good pass.
That's a really solid pass for Brett White. For Chris Hargrave, that was a bit of a strange one. He hit the throttle, and it went silent almost straight away, and it had a bit of the death wobbles.
Yeah, I wonder if it was maybe some electrical gremlins there for Chris Hargrave.
Yeah.
Just the way it sounded, and I don't know.
Bit of an odd one. It looked like there was a little bit of a fuel leak out there as it made its way down the racetrack as well. Nothing too serious, and we will get that car cleared off the racetrack before too long, I would suggest. And don't go anywhere, guys, because we've still got more professional racing coming your way. It is Top Fuel Motorcycle lining up for their crack at this Willowbank Quarter Mile, the first time that we've seen them here this weekend. And again, really, really strong field in Top Fuel Bike this weekend.
Yeah, having a look at the current championship leader here is here this weekend, Damien Muscat, the 5-second man on the bike.
He's pretty much, again, got one hand on the trophy in terms of the way the points have shaken out so far. He's a long, long way out in front. But the thing that I love looking at this list is that we've got such a big entry list. Greg Durack, Ian Ashford, Damien Martini, Corey Buttigieg, Damien Muscat, Benny Stevens, John Zara, and Mike Beeland this weekend. So 7 bikes in the field. That's a really solid lineup for Top Fuel Motorcycle.
And you know what one of the barriers that we haven't seen broken here at Willowbank Raceway is? That's a 5-second pass on a motorbike. So it hasn't happened here at Willowbank Raceway.
Look, I shouldn't be surprised by that because I only saw my first 5-second pass on a motorbike last time out in Sydney. Yep. I hadn't seen one before then. Damien Muscat, he's making dreams come true everywhere he goes. Can he make it true?
I haven't seen one in life yet, in person. So that's that would be one of my highlights for the weekend if we got to see that.
No pressure, Damo, but you'd make a very happy little boy here in the commentary box very proud.
I respect him about it during the week when I saw him.
So there you go. So we're not too far away from firing up these bikes. I think the first bike that we're going to see on track is going to be Greg Durack, the turbocharged combination out of Western Australia. Great to see him stay on over on the East Coast after the Nitro champs. We saw him down there in Sydney. And another guy who was got runs on the board but has probably struggled just a little bit this season in terms of outright performance. This bike is a very solid 6-second bike when it goes down the racetrack, but they're just trying to work out a couple of gremlins and get this thing from point A to point B.
They're very temperamental, the bikes. Especially when you add nitro to a lot of these machines as well.
Absolutely. There's no such thing as a low horsepower top fuel motorcycle. And sometimes you've got to take all that horsepower and you've got to put it down to the racetrack. And it's not always the easiest thing to do. So, Greg Durack rolling into the burnout box down here. And he'll be going on a solo pass this time around. He was supposed to take on Ashelford.
Oh, there might be issues in the burnout there for Durack.
It certainly does sound that way. It sounds like the bike has lost fire down there. And he's, getting off the bike. So that's not the way he would have wanted his Winternationals campaign to kick off. In the lengthening shadows of a Friday afternoon, they'll push that bike back. And
well, in this situation, I always like to say, at least it's in Q1, and you've got a couple of days to get it ready for round 1 racing.
That's right. That's right.
You want it to happen now and not in racing.
Yeah, like not the first round of racing, for example, Mark.
It's too soon, Rusty. It's
too soon.
Too
soon. Well, look, if your mates can't make fun of you, Mark,
thanks, mate.
who else can? No, look, it's one of those things. It's racing. Things break, things happen, and these are very highly stressed race cars and bikes, and things are going to happen sometimes, unfortunately. And it's one of those things. So we'll get the fire up signal down there, and I think, looking at it, it's going to be Damien Martini, and I think he's going to be taking on Corey Buttigieg in this matchup. Or is it Damien Martini on a solo pass? We'll find out very shortly. They were scheduled to be on solo passes themselves, but I'm wondering whether they're actually going to line them up here, because it does look like Corey Buttigieg's crew are getting ready to fire that bike. And then this is the difference between as I'll let Martini go through his burnout procedure, this is the difference between the procedure for a blown 4-cylinder nitro bike as opposed to a V-twin. The V-twin does a very short, sharp burnout. You'll see them roll into the water box. They literally get the tyre smoking, rolling through, and then they'll jam on the brakes to get the thing stopped before the staging beams. On the other hand, Damien Martini's team, he makes sure that his team don't skip leg day. They have to push him back all the way back to the start line.
Well, they've actually flown in a gentleman from the States helping with the fuel and clutch system this weekend.
Okay.
For Martini, yes.
It's a pretty wild motorcycle.
It's John Elwine from the States. So.
Right, so got a bit of a brains trust on this weekend. It does look like Martini's going to be going on a solo pass, so we'll see Buttigieg up next.
So one of the biggest challenges for Martini has been is that the bike hasn't been launching straight. So that's one of their issues that they had. With John over here, he's been here previously. Within 2 launches, John's impact's got the bike launching straight, which it had never done previously.
Yeah, they're a very odd type of motorcycle, these things, because the big square tyre option, where you line them up is incredibly important. The way you set the wheelie bars up is incredibly important. But the other thing, when you look at them, they're almost lopsided, these bikes. They're not very well balanced in terms of the layout of them. So it's no surprise that if you don't have that brains trust there to bounce ideas off, sometimes it can be a bit of a struggle to get them down the racetrack.
And Martini's learning.
He absolutely is.
So once he can get the first half of the racetrack sorted, the bike will do the rest.
And I think he's going to clean up some cones down there. That's 1, 2. Miss a few across the line. Drop the chutes.
Well, got out of right. 1-1-2 to the 60-foot for Martini, and then unfortunately, it
still sounded very lazy though, didn't it?
It did. It was definitely sounded soft.
Certainly wasn't up in the rev range like what we will hear for, say, Damien Muscat, for example.
Yeah.
But with that, we'll have to replace the cones down there. Hopefully that won't take too long and we can roll on, because we do have Corey Buttigieg lining up on his nitro-burning V-twin Harley. Again, another guy who's ridden a lot of different motorcycles over the years, but top fuel bikes are a different thing altogether. There's nothing that can really prepare you for jumping on one of these bikes. The only thing I could probably try and compare it to is maybe bull riding. That'd be about the only thing.
Bull riding is 380 kilometres an hour or something.
Because you've got about the same amount of control over it as you do riding a bull. Let's face it. So I reckon that's probably a pretty fair comparison. So there's no excuse or no substitute for experience on these bikes.
You know, I always look at top fuel motorcycles and I think about the safety aspects. Like in my dragster, which is about 2 seconds slower than these top fuel motorcycles, I've got to have a roll cage, a 5-point safety belt harness around me, and then these guys on the bikes have got no roll cage, no seat belts. Some of them don't have parachutes.
No fear.
No fear.
They're
just crazy.
Their safety is how tight you can hang on to the handlebars.
Yeah.
So
to put the speed in perspective for some of the people up in the grandstand or watching on our live stream, if you've ever been to Movie World and they've got the Superman coaster, it does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So you're talking about these top fuel motorcycles, they're doing 0 to 100 in probably about 1.1 seconds.
Yeah, a little bit faster. You're lying down over the top of the motor. And we say this, but we are joking when we talk about safety, because there is a lot of safety that goes in. These guys are wearing, ballistic vests to try and protect them from any, shrapnel that could potentially come out.
I'm
of
just
the
talking
engine.
about how crazy they are. That's what I was trying to.
Exactly
the
right.
point
You
I
got
was
the
making.
multi-layer leathers. You got the helmet, obviously, head and neck supports in some cases. There is a lot of safety that goes into them. But at the same time, when you compare it to other forms of drag racing, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's not a lot else out there that's keeping you upright on these things. They are an incredible piece of machinery, that is for sure.
I'd probably try any vehicle in drag racing bar a top fuel motorcycle.
Anything?
I think I would. Yeah,
Wheel stander?
Yeah, do that. That's all right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the top fuel motorcycles.
I'm trying to think of something else that might.
No. They're just crazy, man.
They are.
It would scare me trying to just steer them. Like, the thought process alone of what they've got to do with their body to get the bikes to go straight.
And the thing is, when you watch the guys who are comfortable on the bikes as well, it's a thing of beauty to watch them get it down the racetrack. Like, when you go back and you watch someone like Damien Muscat, for example, who he really gets down behind the bars, he throws his body around. But if you look at it, he's moving his head, he's moving his body, but he's almost ahead of the motorcycle. He can almost feel where it's going. And he knows he's got to shift his body weight to try and get the weight on that side of the tyre to get it driving in the opposite
Gets there
direction.
early.
But he gets there early. He doesn't let it get too far so that it's much harder for him to try and get it back into the middle of the lane.
And I think that's the experience.
Yeah.
So someone like, say, Martini that was just on track.
Yeah.
And once he gets all those laps on board, he'll catch it. He'll
get
catch that
feel.
movement earlier in the pass and get it back into the groove.
It's all about laps. There's no substitute for laps and experience in these bikes. So we shouldn't be too far away from getting the fire-up signal down here for Corey Buttigieg. In fact, we have got the fire-up signal.
So having a look at the championship standings, Corey Buttigieg is currently third in the championship for the top fuel motorcycle class. Probably haven't seen the performances we would have expected from this bike yet, and Buttigieg.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assumption. I think if this bike goes, down the racetrack, it is a deep 6-second bike at
exactly.
well over 220 miles per hour.
The trick is obviously trying to keep those cylinders lit.
That's the thing. Therein lies the rub, as somebody once said. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get these bikes down the racetrack. It's not the easiest thing to tune them either. When you've only got 2 cylinders, it is a V-twin. When the spark goes out in one,
You've lost half your horsepower.
you've lost half the horsepower. That's exactly right.
And it's easy to tell. You can hear that note change when they drop a cylinder.
Absolutely. So Corey Buttigieg, again, another guy who's probably still getting comfortable on this type of motorcycle.
That as well. Yep.
He's raced a lot of different things over the years, but he is getting more comfortable on it.
Buttigieg into pre-stage now, moving the bike forward. V-twin Harley.
Whoa! Almost lays it down on the frame rail there. The bike really laid over on him. There was a little flash of sparks, but Corey's got it well and truly under control. But 11-second run, that's not what he would have been looking for, 84 miles per hour.
No, I didn't sound happy on the hit of the throttle either.
Sounded a little bit, this sounds strange, fluffy. It sounded almost not sharp, not crisp.
No,
like we've
I
come
think
to
you're right
expect.
there. It's hard to explain that one, but yeah, it definitely just didn't sound on point.
So, with that, we are going to go racing with our next matchup, and it's great to see this guy back at Willowbank Raceway, Benny Stevens. He put on a show last Winternationals, and we certainly love seeing him back up here. Great to see him over once again. He's going to take on Damien Muscat this time around from Queensland, the 5-second man. He's done it at 2 different racetracks now. I think that's the first time that we've had someone record 5-second runs at 2 different racetracks. So can he make it 3 here this weekend? I know Mark Allen would certainly love to see it. It is the Nitro Phoenix.
Well, he went 580 at 245 miles an hour. So what's that in kilometers an hour? That's about 400k an hour.
Steaming.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It is absolutely steaming.
400 kilometers an hour out in the open. No roll cage around you. No windscreen. No roof.
I don't think I'd even be able to do a burnout on one of these things. It's just...
No, that's
There's
it,
such
though.
a nasty bike. Like, there is nothing like them. And And you talk to Damo, and he's such a laid-back cat. He's so chilled, so relaxed, and it takes a special type of personality, that's for sure. Now, here's the difference that I was talking about. You see Benny Stevens, he let Muscat go out in front, do his big burnout, crew pushing back to the line, almost back to the start line by the time Benny even starts his burnout. So,
well, Muscat is equal 8th in the world on ET for the bikes.
Which that in itself is a hell of an accomplishment. Look at the body language from Muscat. Gets down, hunkers down behind the wheelie bars. That's pretty clean. Oh, big puff of flame from Benny Stevens there. 6:34 with the candles out well before 1,000 foot for Damien Muscat. 179. Benny Stevens looked like that was a pretty big concussion out of the bike for him. 8:36. It looked clean up until then. Let's have a look at the replay.
Yeah, it looked like some sparks from underneath the bike of Muscat. Oh, that's a big bang.
Yeah,
though,
that was a big one for
Benny Stevens.
For
yeah,
Benny. Hopefully, is
that's a big bang.
All A-OK down there. There was a couple of sparks, but it's probably just out of the clutch for Damien Muscat. We've come to expect that from that motorcycle. But Benny Stevens, those sparks were not planned. That's not what you want to see. Let's have one more look at it. And he got well past half track before the. Oh, that's a big bang.
Yeah,
that is a big bang. There's going to be some work to do for that team as they get back to the pits. Could be a long night before qualifying tomorrow for Benny Stevens, and they are running 2 bikes here this weekend as well with Mike Beeland, who will be up next. Awesome to see our US friend making the trek out once again. This time around, he's going to take on John Zara out of North Mackay. Again, awesome to see John Zara back down here at Willowbank Raceway. Another one of these supercharged 4-cylinder combinations. He's been getting on top of this one as well. He's been slowly getting on top of the combination.
Yeah, they got a newly designed billet head on the bike this weekend. Farm Tech Engineering helping him out. Lucas Oil. Oil's, yeah, the new design head's been a bit of a challenge for him though, but hopefully have it sorted at the warm-ups. And they're running that. They've had some supercharger issues as well this weekend. I just haven't looked through some of the stuff that Zara had sent through to me.
Yeah, okay.
So they've had a bit of a challenging week here for John Zara, but this is a low 6-second bike as well. Like it's got the. And when you talk potential, like it's got the potential to be up there with Muscat.
Oh, absolutely.
It's got the power.
But he's doing it a little bit differently to Muscat. Yeah. You know, Muscat's. And, you know, it's just different paths to the same result. Muscat went out and bought that bike as a going concern out of the US, and, you know, it's translated to the performance. It really shortens up the learning curve when you do that. Whereas you look at the way John Zara's kind of gone about, he's kind of going to the beat of his own drum with this bike. He's got some ideas that they're trying out and some things that might not necessarily be what other guys are doing, but at the same time, John thinks that there's you know, merit in it. So, you know, full credit to both guys for putting their money on the line and putting their money where their mouth is.
Now, from memory, I think Zara's actually been 390s to half track.
Yeah, which is quick.
That is quick.
Which is right on par with what we would hope some of the quickest bikes to grace this racetrack will do. So Zara with the big burnout, and you will hear Mike Beeland fire up this motorcycle once the bike is just about back to the start line. In fact, they're getting it fired now. Very experienced racer out of the US has been riding these bikes for a long, long time.
You see Zara's backed up now, so we should see Beeland fire up that Harley. The Downey hot shot Harley here, moving forward. I don't know much about Mike and his exports in the US.
Oh, nice burnout. Something about the Harleys that just lend themselves to burnouts, isn't it? So the Denani Hot Shots motorcycle rolling up to the line. Mike Beeland gets the slap on the back for the crew down there. He's ready to go. No mucking about for this man. 713 at 202 miles per hour for Mike Beelan. Did you see the front wheel on that thing? It was way up. He was heading towards the wall and he rolled out of it, gave it a little bit of a tickle and it came back into the lane. 713 at 202 puts him in the number 3 qualifying spot. So not Damien Martini, he crossed the centre line. Damien Muscat will be your number 1 qualifier with that 634. Michael Beelan in number 2, Benny Stevens in number 3, John Zara in number 4, and Corey Buttigieg rounding out the bikes that did go down the racetrack here in Q1. With that, we're going to move now into some of our Sportsman Series racing. That's all from Mark Allen and myself here this afternoon, but we are going to leave you in the capable hands of Mr. Wade Benson and I think Terry Dale or possibly Chris. I don't know who we've got, but whoever they are, I promise that they're going to be good.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It's back to Terry Dale and Wade Benson.
Couple of smooth operators, Terry.
Oh, mate, we're as smoother than a cheese grater.
We've got to calm ourselves down because that was exciting. But what is exciting? We talk about the excitement that is Junior Drag Bike, Terry.
Yes, we talk about the things that that Marcus McDonald has just had the ability to do. Of course, do a skid, pop a wheelie, change the gears. He gets a nice solo here on the Yamaha, so an 850. Cuts an okay light, a 173 for Marcus. We'll see how he goes. And he'll go through for 882 on that 850. 15 in the field. So we'll have 7 more pairings.
Yeah, good field of junior drag bikes. And, of course, we're back into eliminations with the juniors.
This is
so
it.
We saw Marcus go through, get the solo. He'll be a winner. But this is it. One of these riders won't be going through to Saturday. One rider will be through to Saturday in the next round.
And Jaden Badcock and Lillian Hagan. 867 for Lillian and a 930 for Jaden. So not much of a chase, but Lillian's got the number 1 on the side.
She is. She's won some national events recently.
Will she be brought undone?
Oh, Jaden will be looking to do that. We know Jaden's a good racer.
Oh, Jaden, a good light, a 036. He's given himself an opportunity, but here comes Hagan. Oh, Lillian is gone. Jaden has got the win. Jaden with a 940 on a 930, an 873 on an 867 with a 155. That was lost on the tree. Jaden got it with a 036 light.
We've been speaking about it all day, Terry. It's that with how close and consistent these sportsman races are, they really have to cut a good light, and that guy was able to do that.
Wow, and they just put him in the box seat and away he went.
Well, Jaden was able to do that. So
Jaden was, yeah.
Kai's coming up now. So from one Badcock to another, Kai coming forward. The Badcocks, they really ride these junior bikes aggressively. They shift through the gears. Kobe Ashelford, he'll be looking to put himself through the next round. He's made the trek over from WA.
Let's hope that it's not in vain. But Kai Badcock doesn't care where you come from. He wants to win. Oh, Kobe, a red light. Oh, that is so disappointing. But a 040 for Kai. Let's have a little look. 1044 and a 1030 with a 040 light. Well done to Kai Badcock. Sadly, that'll bring the end of the campaign for Kobe Ashelford all the way from Mandurah, Western Australia. We do thank you guys for coming along. We hope you enjoyed yesterday, and now you can sit back and enjoy watching the Top Fuel bikes for the rest of the weekend.
That's it. So next pairing coming forward, Madison Schofield over in the Rocket Lane on the Kawasaki. Also on the Ninja, Lawrence Rochella. The last event for the Ninja. He's not giving Junior Bike away, but the exciting news is, Terry, that he's coming out in Junior Bike, the first Harley Davidson.
Can you believe that? A Harley in Junior Bike. That is going to be, that is, we talk about a flex, that's a flex. Oh, Lawrence, cut a red light. Madison will not care. A 0.38 for Matty. Matty will go through for a 9.73 on that 9.60. Well done to the HZ Racing Kawasaki of Madison Schofield. Well done. So James Schofield with an 8.82 and Jatea Chalk with a 9.27. The Nicky V Artistry Kawasaki, the Ballinger Investments Kawasaki of Schofield. Someone is just going to be disappointed, isn't it?
Yeah, we just saw one Schofield go through. Can it be a double from South Gladstone? So a part of the world that breeds good bike races in drag racing. We'll have work to do, though. 2.49 light for James, 1.91 for Jatia. So James will be chasing down Jatia. Looks like it's going to be close, but it won't be enough. Jatia will go through a 9. Oh, look at that, Terry. 9.27 nice. With a 0 on a 9.27. That was going to be tough to beat. Pretty much had to cut the better light, but for James, a 9.13 on an 8.82. Well done to Jatia.
Yeah, well done. Spot on the dial in. You cannot do any better than that. So Nevaeh McDougall and Vans Pirano. Vans with an 11.20 on the Beck's Hair Lounge JDB Junior. The SVO Transport Junior Bike of Nevaeh McDougall with a 9.13. So McDougall to chase Pirano. Got a good two-second chase. So Vans gets out with a 100 light. Here comes McDougall with a 0.97. There's nothing in it. These two. Here comes McDougall. Is Vans too quick? No, Vans will get the win with an 11.52 on that 11.20. But McDougall, a 9.56 on a 9.13. A little bit off the dial in. Well, that'll hurt. Well, if there's one thing positive about this whole thing, looking down that track, it's a beautiful looking sunset.
Yeah, well, both of those racing Junior Dragster as well. Nevaeh went through to the next round, so she'll be back in Junior Dragster, but the bike will be packed up for the weekend.
Yeah, we might ride it around the pits, I don't know. Cooper Ashelford and Xavier Mansfield French, 9.15 for Xavier, 8.80 for Cooper. Cooper to chase, Xavier to head off first. Oh, look at that, that's a good light from Xavier. Cooper. 0.59 to a 0.15 of Xavier, but will it be enough? It will not. Cooper has pulled the trump card and gone an 8.94 and an 8.80 with a 0.59 to go closer to the dial-in to win over a 9.56 on a 9.15 for Xavier Mansfield French. There we go. Even if you cut a 0.15, you think you're going to have a good chance, Wade. Nope, not when Cooper Ashelford's racing you.
Yeah, 100%. So that's been the tail of the tapes today. Normally we see the races with the better reaction times have been getting the better end of the draw, but that pairing going against the grain. So next pairing, Scarlett Mansfield French now an 8.97. So we'll have to wait there and chase down Blake Hagan here, who's dialed in a 10.80. 3.04 light, a 1.52 for Scarlett. So advantage to Scarlett. The H2 Racing and Jack's Tyres bike of Scarlett will be chasing hard and will get the win, a 9.01 on an 8.97. Blake Hagan finishes off a 10.95 on a 10.80, but that light will hurt.
Oh, yes, and that's a bit of a trip back to Monto. Hopefully they'll be sticking around to see the rest of the competition. It's a tough gig, isn't it? I'll tell you, if you travel. The travel thing is like you make the commitment, and it doesn't matter. You tick all the boxes. You cross all the T's, you dot all the I's, but sometimes things just don't work out. And but you know what? The one thing's for sure about all these kids on their junior drag bikes, they've had a good time. Just
a quick public service announcement. There's a the black Ford Ute down here under the grandstand. Does need to be moved. So the number plate SIN3R, or Sinner, if that is your beautiful looking Ford Ute, we do need that moved immediately, please. And for once, it's not my black Ford Ute.
I was waiting for you to say... I was waiting for him to say it was your Ute. Do you read the number plate and go, oh, hang on, that's mine?
Not this year.
No, not this year. You and I have both been in trouble with that before, Wade. So Dale Samuelson, we are in The bad boys and girls of street racing, the real street races. Tony Rogers, Dale Samuelson, 12.20 for Dale, 11.22 for Tony in the WHP Ultra Street Cars Ford, and of course the Better Call Kel Maintenance Caprice of Dale Samuelson.
Pretty open field too, real street, isn't it, Terry? When you look at the entry list and you go, pretty much any of these guys and girls could win here this weekend.
Without a doubt.
They're always mixing it up, but Dale Samuelson, current track champion in the street series.
He most certainly is, so he'll be a hard man to beat, but Tony Rogers is, well, what can I say? Tony is no slouch, so Dale has got some tough work here because both of these customers can take this easily first round. Is a great shot looking there on the overtaking lane, looking down the track. Oh, Dale Samuelson, he must have listened to us and got a little bit itchy because he's gone red. And even Tony Rogers has gone a bigger red. What is wrong with you, lads? Come on.
They know the racer barbecue's on. They want to get there in a hurry.
Oh,
they want to get to the bar.
The racer barbecue.
It's beer o'clock.
I just want a beer too. It's unfair we have to wait. So Tony Rogers will get the win. So Ian Nielsen and Shane Grattan. Grattan in the Haas Style Customs Ford with a 12.92 dial in. 11.44 for Ian Nielsen, all the way from the beautiful Currumbin Valley.
Yeah, for Ian, he has run a quickest of 11.42 in qualifying, with an 11.44 in the mix as well. Shane has run a 12.82 and a pair of 12.90. So he's dialed in the 12.92. It's about in the middle of where he's been running this weekend. So we'll see how that goes for the Haas Style Customs BA Falcon.
Gets out nicely though, but Ian Nielsen says, yeah, how about I put up a red light and Shane Grattan can take the win with a 0.44. Let's see what Shane can do. He will run a 12.96 on that 12.92 with a 0.44 light. That is tidy. That is a tidy win.
Yeah, nice work there for Shane.
So Paul Nielsen, Stacey Goldie, Stacey in the GTO, 11.89. For Goldie, 11.14 for Paul Nielsen in the Black Panther Racing Ford. Yeah, I tell you what, there's some, we're already seeing it mixed up. Some of the heavy hitters.
Yeah, well,
Can't believe Samuelson's gone.
Yeah, well, you know, when you're speaking to the racers and they say to you, some of the heavy hitters have had a tough day, haven't they?
Yeah, so a tough day means that they're not racing anymore. At the Winters, it's just brutal. So Goldie versus Nielsen. I've called this race plenty of times. So has Stacey got the goods? Has Paul got the goods? A little bit of a chase for Paul. Stacey needs to head off. She cut a good light in qualifying. Just wants to carry that success over. No nerves, Stacey. Take a breath. Just do what you got to do. Do you like that? Just words of encouragement for the races. She's probably listening. No, she's not. Oh,
she's going, gee, I wish Terry would just be quiet so I can cut a good line.
For goodness sake, it's just, seriously. Both of them red. Nielsen and Goldie. Honestly, at the end of this meeting, we need to have a meeting. We need to have a meeting about Real Street and your attitude, both of you.
and broke out 11.87.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what is going on?
There, you happy, Terry? You happy?
Now, look, Cameron Goldie, let's see if Cam can get it right in this tough-looking BA Ford. Craig Collis, of course, in the Tyner's Candy Shop, which we had some gummies, and we had some, what was the other thing? They were odd.
The bright crawlers. I haven't had any of them yet, but the gummy bears went down a tree. We'll save them for tomorrow.
That sounds like a Netflix series, doesn't it? 13.09 for Craig Collis, 11.61 for Goldie. So Cam to do the chasing. He doesn't mind. Craig. Well, how about a red light for Craig Collis? So no more Tyner's Candy Shop advertising for you, young man. So 0.54 for Cam Goldie. Cam, let's see how close he can go to that 11.61, and we'll put someone in there that knows what they're doing. So an 11.82 and 11.61. Brutal?
Chop.
I know, the boys know. They all know.
Oh, that was sweet, Terry. Well done.
That's because I don't race the real street. So there you go. Steve Warren, Dean Merchant, Mr. Nova Ford, with a 10.95 to an 11.69 of Steve Warren in the East Coast Panel and Paint. Let's see how Steve goes. He'll lead first, give Dean something to think about. Gets out with a 1.51, a 2.48 for Dean. Let's see if the top end in this tough Ford of Dean's can reel Steve Warren in. That's going to be a tough ask. Steve might be going too quick, actually. Nope, he's actually done exceptionally well. An 11.83 on an 11.69 for Steve Warren will take the win. An 11.34 and a 10.95 is a little bit off the dial in for Dean, but Steve Warren will not mind at all because he'll go through to the next round.
Yeah, that's it. Couple of real street races that don't mind a big skid.
Here it comes.
You know, Matt Coates is in the house in the wagon. Cooper Lay's going, hey, I don't want to be outdone by the wagon, but Cooper, you'll have to settle for second best in the skid stakes. But hey, it doesn't matter how good your burnout is; it matters how good your light is, how good you are on your dial in. The dial in for Matt Coates is at 12.05, and to do the chasing will be Cooper Lay in the Ute at 10.71.
Yeah, nice little chase there for Cooper in the Peter Lay Custom Import car. He'll be chasing down that Coates Racing Holden of Matt. The Dragon Wagon. Let's see, Matt'll cut a light here. Cooper will know he's got a race on his hand. Yep, 0.84, 0.90. Oh, how do you see it, Wade? It could be anyone's game. Here comes the quicker car. Here comes the Ford. Will he be able to get the Holden? No, Cooper will not. Matt Coates, a 12.17 on a 12.05 with a 0.84 will take the win. And Cooper Lay, a 10.94 on a 10.71 just wasn't enough tonight.
No, that's it. Getting the bye. Doesn't have to worry about anyone in the next lane. It's the quickest car in the real street field.
At least he's still out the front of Pete's car.
Yeah.
He's got something to be grateful for.
That's it. It's a 9.96 for Gary Green. We can see how fast it runs. If it runs faster than that.
I reckon it will.
Oh, he's got wheel spin there on the gear change. Look at him go, driving the thing through the first 200 feet. We'll see the top end charge. Might not be on that 9.96. No, problems on the start will hurt the ET at 10.62 at 134 miles per hour. But when you get a buy, that's what you want to do. Maybe try something a bit different.
You know what, Wade? I'd like to go for a strap in that thing of Gary's. That sounds good. It's not loud. It's just stealthy, and it just gets down and boogies, and it runs well and truly into the nines. So for a street car, I am impressed with Gary Green because he's the first car in our competition in Real Street here at Willowbank that has run into the nines in competition, even though he's not racing anyone right now. But he was first round, so we now have a racer in the 9 seconds. I know they said they've had it out at Bernaraby, but not here at Willowbank. You would think we'd have 20 cars running in the 9 seconds in Real Street. That's a call out to all you ladies and gentlemen. And everyone who's sitting at home thinking, who's got a 9-second car at home, going, oh, is that all it takes? Yeah. It's easy.
Well, that's what it's for, isn't it? The Mustangs, the Camaros, these later model vehicles that have the technology to go that quick. You don't have to. You can do it on a day license. You can come out, you can do an event, you can go home with a Christmas tree.
And Chris, they've got 11 billion airbags, so they're all safe. They check them over, so it's all good. And look, Real Street, seriously, they're a really great bunch. And I know I give them a bit of cheek, but it is only because of the fact that they are such a great bunch. Really good bunch of racers. They trying to promote the category in Real Street, and they've done exceptionally well. And it really is. I'm really pleased and proud of what they have done to achieve with that category.
They do try and help each other off track as well.
They do,
if someone's having issues, they'll all get in, and many hands make light work. But Terry, guess what? That's me. I'm jumping off early. I'm going to let Chris jump on and call Top Sportsman.
Fire up the beers down in the bar, mate.
I'll make sure they're cold and ready to rock and roll.
I'm going to get these Top Sportsmen out of the way as quickly as possible.
Shoot through them, mate, and I'll see everyone back here tomorrow morning from 8 o'clock. Give me a good day.
I might just come down now and just let Chris finish it off. Chris goes, where's Terry? He's gone. Where's Benson? Where? He's gone. They're all gone. That would just be cruel. Chris Osley, he's coming into the now. Mate, you're just about. We've got 21. So we'll have 10 pairings and a solo here in Top Sportsman. So, and then we'll be as I said, we'll be pulling up stumps. We do have the barbecue, of course, which we can go to for the races. We're not racers, but I'm sure there might be a piece of bread or a sausage somewhere.
I'll have to stop by the lifestyle tent just to get some cold weather gear.
Why is it cold out there?
It's getting there.
No, calm it down. Calm it down, princess. It's not that
Plus,
cold
I need
out
to
there.
get my merch.
Oh, he's got to get his merch. He's got to get some merch for your little one. So as we have a look at the lineup here coming into Top Sportsman. Simon Isherwood, 687. Ray Fairfield in that Ford. Oh, that thing is just one of my favourite things. 702. Maxwell, a 712. Michael Obst, 721. 73 for Vlado Jurek. It goes all the way down. We have 10 vehicles in the 7-second zone in the Top Sportsman. So tough category. And I've got to be honest, look, it doesn't matter because what are the slower cars in the field do not matter because the quality is there. We have Daniel Morris. We have Neil Grayson. We have Dale Sonigan. We have Stephen Summer. Steve Horvat. Luke Rosati. How many competitors that are in theoretically slower cars are just going to hurt someone in this round? And that's what's going to happen.
Exactly right.
Quicker guys thinking, I love the chase. Maybe you won't like the chase after the first round of Sportsman.
Yeah, maybe you might have an off Christmas tree.
Mate, you can't get anything wrong, as you know, in Sportsman, Chris.
Exactly right.
So as we wait for them to come forward, we're just doing a quick drag down the end there, I think.
Yeah, tractor on track just through the, just crossing the finish line.
We love the tractor. You know what? Now, has anybody ever thought about doing John Deere merchandise for the tractors? For the tractor? I went to Willowbank and I watched the John Deere. That would be awesome. I love it. I'd buy a T-shirt that says that. They wouldn't be cheap. They'd be dear.
No.
Anyway, I'm just waiting. I'm just looking across at Lee here, who's working the whole box here, and he's just fallen off his chair and he's throwing something at me.
How have you
He
not
said,
turned
"Look,
his sound
mate,
off?
Mate." It's brutal. Just remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening at home, remember the live feed is free, so don't complain about it. So here we go. Wade's like thinking, I don't even want to hear what he's got. He hasn't gone to the bar yet. So there we go. That looks like that might have been the one drag of the tractor we needed. Maybe not. Hang on. We've got another drag.
Yeah, I think
Just
the
get a
sugar
little
hit's
bit of a
running.
clean. Maybe is there a little bit of moisture out there? Is it a little bit, how cold was it?
It's not that cold.
Not that cold?
Not yet.
I just thought there might have been, look, we've got the tractor out there. We've got it happening. I'm going to say it, seeing though we're here, we're close to the end of the night. We've only got the one more category to call, of course, and a prime category as well. It's only 17 degrees. Big thank you to everybody over there on the grassy area. I hope you've had a good time today. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Everyone in the grandstand, that grandstand was pretty full before.
It was chockers.
So well done to everybody who's rocked up today to see it. I know a lot of people would have started heading home. Don't forget to drive slowly because there's always a couple of little sneaky cameras here and there.
And for those coming back out tomorrow, you're going to have an action-packed day tomorrow.
Yeah, we are, but I'll tell you what, there's going to be an action-packed tonight because don't forget, the bar is open. Go and have a nice, cool, refreshing ale at the bar. Ladies and gentlemen, please make yourself welcome at Stomper's Bar down at Willowbank Raceway. So
yeah, they've got the live stream shown in the bar at the moment as well.
Well, you and I were there down there before, and we looked across at the bar, and we went, and please note, everybody, I did not go into the bar. I know it was very difficult.
I had to hold him back.
Chris had to hold me back by my collar, just like he was trying to exit me out of the chair when I was commentating. And I looked, and they got a big screen in there so we could watch the action. So I'm sure that if we go down there later on, I'm sure Overtaking Lane is going to show all the highlights, or not. I just like, you know what? Just throw people under the bus because that's what you do. So, look, I digress, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope you've had a good time today and a good time. As I said, tomorrow morning, as Wade mentioned, we will be on the microphone at sharp at 8 o'clock, and it'll be our round 2. And we're going to go straight into it. It's going to be wild. Oh, I just had a look. All of a sudden, there was someone there. Yeah, you can throw that one in there, Chris.
I'm not going anywhere near that one. But it looks like we've got some cars firing up in the staging lanes.
Let's hope so, because please get me out of here. That's the way it goes. So
Looks like it's
yeah.
one of the Calibras.
Yeah, I've never seen that many Calibras. You know what I mean? Like,
They
never
should've
seen
left
one
them
on
in Europe.
Yeah, but here they're all at the drag strip, aren't they? And they're fast. So we've got a couple of cars. We've got 3 cars running in the 190s and 1 in the 200s in this field. So there you go. And our number 1 qualifier isn't one of them. So Elio Quintieri and Tony Wyatt. Elio, a dial in of an 8:29. You are in top, Sportsman, at the Gulf Western Oil Winternationals. Big shout out to our crew down at the Gulf Western Marquee. Pretty sure they might have packed it up by now or had it closed, but
Never know.
we're going to have a chat with them, give them a shout out tomorrow.
So round 1. Top Sportsman.
So yes, Tony Wyatt, 773 in the Calibra. The Fairmont, the American Fairmont of Quinto Ag Supplies from beautiful Mariba up north. Tony to chase. Elio to head out there. And we had to look that the Fairmont up to have a look on the. We did a Google search yesterday.
Yeah, it's an odd car, isn't it? Late 70s style.
It is cool and it looks quick. I love the stance. The stance on these 2 cars is impressive. So let's have a look. Wyatt and Quintieri. Elio to lead first. Tony to chase.
0-1-1 reaction for Elio Quintieri. 0-35 for Tony Wyatt. And Wyatt gets there first. 776 at 177. On that,
Wow.
on that 773.
And Elio just went too quick. Just went under his dial in and has just brought his campaign to an end. But Troy Daniel with a 790 dial in the Tirana. Carl Davies in the Monza, an 818 dial in. So not much in the dial ins, not too much of a spread. So the Bundaberg car, the Tirana, 790. Some awesome top end out in that Tirana, Chris. Troy's tapped out at 172 mile an hour in that thing.
Yeah, surprising to get it out
When you
of
look
the
at it, you're
Tirana.
thinking it's like 150, 100, you know, whatever. But even Carl Davies in that mighty Monza, 167 mile an hour, but 172. So let's have a little look. So good top end out of these 2, but it'll all be about the tree. Who will hit the tree better? Who will go close enough to their dial-in to get the win and go through to the next round?
Great reaction time there for Carl Davies in the Chev Monza at 0-37. And caught Troy Daniels sleeping.
Most certainly did. And Carl will make you pay an 833 and on an 818. So Carl Davies in the Monza did it easily. He's got local track.
Yeah, Troy Daniel in the Tirana tried everything to claw some time back.
Couldn't
but,
do it. Still
broke out trying.
173 mile an hour at the top end.
So Daniel Morris on track. Dialing in an 809, going up against Ray Fairfield in that Falcon with a 697. So yeah, some big mile an hour out of Ray Fairfield's Falcon.
So Ray Fairfield, Daniel Morris, That's a tough pairing. I tell you what, that's the mouse. Will it be the mouse that roared? You wouldn't think that Dan would be the mouse because...
well, he's rattled off a consistent string of 8-1s all day.
well, we know how good
Ray
Dan
Fairfield
is.
just had the one pass that was representative leading
Now-
up to this race.
So, mate, we're going to have a quick chat about the what's happening after the last race here. So, just a note to everybody who is here on the track, who is actually racing or is crewing, and you are a female, we are actually going to do a large photo shoot on the start line or thereabout on the start line area after the last race. So, if you are one of our fabulous lady participants or one of our fabulous lady crew, you are more than welcome. We are going to get a big group shot of everybody. I think Wade Onge is organising it, and we're going to do a cool shot, which will be on the start line or thereabouts, and it'll be so we can show the women in motorsport here. So if you are, as I said, if you are a lady racer or if you are a lady crew, you are more than welcome to come to the start line after the last race and be part of that historic group photo. Dan says, I'll have a big skid. Again.
Any
He loves
excuse for it. Yeah, he just takes the Pontiac for a run.
Dan just loves to punish that little small block. As we know, he's part of the small block mafia. I don't know, with the small block mafia, I don't know if it's got anything to do with what's happening with the smoke shops, but who knows? Well, there's a lot of smoke.
Yeah.
So there you go, that's what I'm saying. But Ray Fairfield, he rattled off a 7:02 at 203 in that Coating King Falcon. I'll tell you what, that car is just been one of my favourite things.
Unassuming, isn't it?
Oh, sick. And look at the dial in it, 697.
So you think there's more in it?
Well, I think he knows it's got more in it. Gonna bang that 6 out. Here it goes. So we bring it up on boost. Dan will have the small block singing a 0.53, a 1.58.
Oh, wild ride there for the Falcon of Ray Fairfield.
Oh, Ray Fairfield's still going to give it some juice. Still goes through at a 7.9, but no, 8.15 and an 8.09. Congratulations, Mr. Dan Morris. You are going through to the next round.
That's a wild ride there for Ray Fairfield.
Did the car just...
It just went sideways on him, just off the hit of the throttle.
It's a whole lot of power to put down. A 200 mile an hour car. So it either works or it doesn't. So Harry Summer, Neil Maxwell. Harry with an 810 in the Berryman Harvesting Commodore. Neil Maxwell with a Precise Automatics Pontiac with a 714 dial in. He will do the chasing. And I'll tell you what, look, we know how good Harry is, but do you really want Neil Maxwell chasing you with 192 mile an hour in the back end?
Well, the 667 cubic inch Pontiac chasing you down.
That is no mean feat. That thing will look stealthy coming through those lights down at the end of that Willowbank Raceway. Won't it? It'll just be this black blur. Oh, Summer cuts a 0.21, 0.32 for Maxwell. There's nothing in it. Here comes the Pontiac. Has he got enough? Oh,
he does, the
Harry.
718.
But Harry has gone under his dialing with an 808 on an 810 and a 718 on a 714 with 191 mile an hour on the top end. Neil Maxwell, that was sweet.
Yeah, drove all the way around him. Got another Pontiac coming up. So Stephen Somer in the Somer Automotive Pontiac going through the burnout routine, taking on Darren Saliba.
Now we look at the Chev of Saliba. 10.2, 7.6, 7.4. Look at Summer. Look at Summer's previous qualifiers. 8.2, 8.2, 8.2. Can you get any better? Look, Stephen is here, and that thing is fast. We've seen the Summer Automotive Pontiac quite often here, and it is one tidy bit of gear. Let's see if Stephen can make the most of it and push through and get himself into that next round and just have a nice, easy evening. back at the campsite.
Well, seeing the results from both of these guys, you want to have that reaction time spot on.
I think Saliba's car is quicker than that 741, to be honest, Chris. So I'm not too sure. So who knows?
Stephen Sober's car is dialed in to the 10th of a second.
You cannot get that the JKM, the Just Kitchen Makeovers car any lower. You can see it on our screen there. Look how low that car is, that Chev. It's pretty tough. The SS, the Camaro. Let's have a little look. Summer to head off. Saliba to try and chase him down.
Saliba just nudging forward. Pontiac's out, 0.35. Reaction time, Saliba with a 178.
I don't know if it's going to be any top end unless he goes too quick. How quick? 8.22 on an 8.22 with a 0.35. Stephen Summer, that is how you win the race. Oof. And I'll tell you
Bang
what,
on the
Darren,
dial in with a 0.35 light. Fantastic.
he just went about his business. Darren Saliba ran an 8.16 at off that 7.41. Car had 161 in the top end, but the car wasn't playing the game. But Stephen Summer, that was a good run.
Michael Obst up next in the DMK Industries Chevy Cobalt, taking on Neil Grayson in the Hilux.
Now, we talked about the slower cars winning. Wade and I, just before you come on, was it you and I talking about it? The slower cars winning in this category. This is what's happening. It's very interesting to see. Grayson with all those beautiful stacks sticking out the bonnet of that Chevy Love.
Well, I guess if the slower car has that awesome reaction time to start with, it makes it even harder for the guy behind. So chasing.
I called it a Chevy Love and it's a Hilux. So Neil Grayson, 8.11 to a 7.30. Obst and Grayson. Neil to head off. Will Neil make the most of it? Will he give something the DMK Industries Cobalt with the big 680 cubes? Grayson says, I don't care. My Hilux can take it on. And Neil, he'll head off.
And these
And
guys
Michael.
run bang on their dial in.
Yeah, let's see. Will it be one on the tree again? Will it be the slower car? Making it difficult for the cars chasing tonight.
Triple 0 for Neil Grayson in the Hilux.
Grayson, a 0.00. Will he make the most of it? He knows.
8.16 on an 8.11 with the 0.00.
Neil Grayson.
Well done, and through to the next round.
And a 7.23 on a 7.30. Michael Obst knew he had to chase him, knew he had to try and get that Hilux of Grayson, but Grayson says, no, enough of this, 0.00, I'm in the zone.
The slower car gets through, Terry.
Yeah, so here we go. Look, Kayleen Gooley in the supercharged Tirana up against Luke Rosati in the Dawson's Engineering Maloo. One quick Maloo with 427 cubes of V8, 170 mile in the top end, 168 mile an hour in the top end of Kayleen's. Kayleen to chase. Oh, Luke cut the red, but Kayleen goes 005 red, but because she was the second red light, she will still get the win.
Runs it through for an 8.20 at 166 to back up that 8.10.
That's a quick run from those two, an 8.37 for Luke and an 8.20 for Kayleen at 169 and 166 respectively. So well done to Rosati and Gourley, but both red lights. But Kayleen, she got the rub of the green. She's going through.
Dale Sonigan in the Bowen Engine Centre Commodore, dialing in an 8.14, taking on Vlado Turic in the Mustang. That's actually the Pontiac GDO, as you can see on the live stream.
How good is that shot from the crew at overtaking lane? They've worked very hard today. Not as hard as the commentators, but I do give them credit for at least trying. So Dale Sonigan in the Bowen Engine Care Commodore, Vlado Turic in the Vlado Turic Proprietary Limited Mustang. 7:36 to an 8:14. Sonigan goes 0:41. Jurek goes 0:45. There is nothing. Here comes the quicker car. Has it got enough in the pipe? No. 8:17 to an 8:14. Dale Sonigan got out, wasn't headed, and he'll take the win.
There we go, short wheelbase. Glenn Henley in that Datsun 1200 Ute. Dialing in at 8:23. David Foster in beside him, dialing in a 7:42 in the 57 Chev.
Now, we talk about top sportsmen and the different types of vehicles as well. When you have a look at this absolutely stunning looking 57 Chev, the Spry Civil of Foster with a 7:42 dial in, then you have a look at Glenn Henley in this Glenara Transport Datsun 1200. That looks absolutely, look, that you talk about the short wheelbase. Have a look at the size of those wheelbases compared to those two cars if you are sitting back like we are, and you can just see them. It's really intriguing to see the V8, the 427 packed under the bonnet of that 1200. The 57 Chev, it's got a mighty 632 cubes to obviously push it to that 184 mile an hour top end. That's a big top end.
Yeah, massive mile an hour out of the Chev. 041 light to Henley in the Datsun 1200 and 012 for Foster.
Foster's coming. Here comes the seed. Here comes the top end. And he's got it. 7:43 on a 7:42 with a 012 at 184 mile an hour.
And you look at the Datsun's time, an 8:23 on an 8:23, only let down by that reaction time.
And the reaction time is a 0:41 that's let you down. Oh, this sport is brutal. I would feel hard done by if I was Glenn. Foster is just in the zone.
There we go, Steve Horvat in the Monaro going through the burnout routine. 8:39 dial in, taking on Josh Boscovich.
How cool is Bosco's car, this Wilding Motorsport XA Coupe? The Monaro of Horvat. This is a classic race, isn't it? This is two beautiful looking Ford and Holden coupes. 8:39 for Steve, 7:96 for Josh.
Yeah, this Ford Falcon is a wild bit of gear.
Both of those cars. This is really impressive to see Bosco just having a big squirt of the nitrous. Oh, yep. Oh, I thought it was a bit of wild bunch action there. A little bit of dry hopping there from Boscovich. We're not saying it's not a good thing. I'm saying it's a good thing. But so Horvat to lead for first, Boscovich to chase. Someone's going through, someone's going on the trailer.
Here we go.
Oh, look, it's the calm before the storm, Chris.
Yeah, we're just playing with the lights. Big wheels up for Boscovich and a red light for an 091 red. So Steve Horvat with the win at 033. Runs it through for an 8:41 on that 8:39.
So nice win there for Steve Horvat. You did see the nitrous flames on the gear change out of that car of Boscovich. Looked tough, but Steve Horvat did not care one iota. He says, I'll cut a 033, I'll run an 8:41, and I'm going through to the next round. Oh, here we go. Mr. Simon Isherwood. Dialing in at a 688. I wonder if he'll push it into the 200 mile an hour zone. So Simon gets the benefit of the buy because he used to own a rotary, and that's the only reason he got the buy. I'm only said that because Simon will listen back to this and he'll go, yes, Terry, thank you for that. But let's have a little look.
He just rolled the beams.
Yeah,
he's playing the game.
mate, he's just got to take the light. Look, I hope. It's mate. It's yeah, that's right. It's like he's going to take the rear wheel for the next. Going to take the stripe. So that means we might be at the end of the night. So as I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a lady racer who is here on the premises, if you are a lady who is crewing or involved in our beautiful sport, if you would like to make your way to the start line, because we are going to have a massive group photo to show off the fabulous women in motorsport. So please, if you are here and you are involved, please make your way to the start line now, please. That'd be fantastic. But we are going to wind up for the night, Chris. For you and I, mate, Chris Osley, thank you so much for commentating today.
Thanks, Derek.
And thank very much to Wade Benson. And we want to thank our crew from Overtaking Lane. We want to thank Lee here in the box as well. We want to thank our crew up in the tower, all our Green Army for all the hard work they have done over the last 2 days. It is going to get wildly hectic tomorrow. Do not miss it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, drive safely home. And thank you very much for attending the 57th Winter Nationals.